Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
Good evening, folks, and welcome to Alien Addict. On this fine, luxurious evening, we have none other than Wreaking Havoc 215. That is John. For anybody who doesn't know who John is somebody I interviewed on the channel a few months ago, and he spoke about his experience that's gone on for years, since he was, I believe, 14 years old, where he saw two grey creatures outside the window, and he's seen many more paranormal things. And we're currently investigating what's going on in John's life. Now, on the back of that, I got David on I think it was a few weeks later, and he's had this subject with him all his life. He knows more than I do about anything to do with paranormal. I'm only just touching the surface on this. I've only had one gin and tonic, guys. But I'm going to bring him into the chat now. So, boys, welcome to the channel. David and
Hello.
John. That was a really shit intro, but we're live, so I can't do anything about it. How you doing, fellas?
Good.
Good.
Good. How about yourself?
Well, I will be all right in a minute. I just need to kind of like
Top up.
get my space. Well, this is my first glass of wine of the night. But this is it. I'm just gonna sit back and let you two just go with the flow, because John, you've got questions for David.
That's a place
Yeah,
to start.
Plenty of questions for him.
So John, just to give us a bit of a history for anybody who has not watched the original video, the original interview that we had, where you were in a really bad place. Can you just kind of like just go a little bit back?
Yeah, definitely.
It's just
I'm gonna be cool one day.
But yeah, when I was a teenager, I basically had an alien abduction, as far as I can tell. And I was 15, and that was the first time I've ever had anything like that happen to me. And throughout the years, I've had different experiences, seeing shadow people, ghosts, sleep paralysis, all types of stuff. And it's been going on for the majority of my life. It's been pretty spread out, and continuing now to have some type of experience going on. So it's been about 25 years, I would say. And yeah, I wasn't in a bad place, but our first interview helped me get over it for sure.
Yeah, you've definitely changed a lot since our first interview, and that's what brought you to the channel, David. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. I figured John had the courage to do it, and I've spent a lot of time and years researching my particular situation, and kind of looking for someone that was similar. And I don't know that John and I's story is exactly similar, but I was like, if he has the courage to do it, surely I can do it too. Because I mean, I saw him in that state, and I was like, this guy's clearly dealing with a lot of shit, and he can muster it up. I'm sure there's a way I could figure it out. And you had mentioned during his thing that you were going to try and set something up for people with experiences to talk, and I was like, that's,
the Discord. Yes. Yeah, that's still in the works. But it's going to happen. Like I said, I've just got to find a way to vet that properly. But go on. Sorry.
I liked your idea of getting people together, because there's so many experts in the field, and I mean, they're just all full of shit.
I couldn't put it better myself.
What's that?
I couldn't put it better myself.
Yeah. The people who have experiences, they're debunked, they're marginalized, and they're cast off. But when they get together, when I've talked to other people that I know have had things happen, you start seeing pieces of this bigger picture. When you listen to the experts, I'm making air quotations. You can't see me, but I'm doing it with my fingers.
We saw the fingers, just
okay. Yeah,
but we can't see the face. Don't worry.
Yeah, I mean, so we get to see a bigger thing. Is the experts are just trying to sell another book, or ride high off their, I don't know, I'll get offensive if I go too far, but they're just all full of shit.
No,
I would
totally get
have to agree.
So, John, you've been wanting to speak to David for quite some time now, ever since you saw the interview that I did with David. You've watched it, you say 3 times now?
Yeah, at least. I probably watched it twice today. One and a half times at least. So.
That's a good compliment for David. Because I didn't say much.
I don't know what to say. I didn't think it was all that interesting.
It was. It was very interesting.
Yeah.
David. Yes.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah.
Go ahead, John.
Yeah.
Ask away,
question
man.
away.
All right. So my first question is, I've had a lot of people suggest to me that I should try to contact whatever's going on in my apartment. Almost everybody has suggested that. To me, I think that's a terrible idea. I wanted to know your thoughts on that, if that's something you would suggest or something you think I should stay away from doing.
No, I think it's fucking stupid. People love to tell other people that, hey, why don't you throw those 5 gallons of gasoline into that small campfire? Yeah, because I'm sitting over here and I'm not you. So of course I want to hear you do something. You know, people. Right. Yeah, I've encountered a lot of people, and a lot of people say, well, you know, everyone told me. Everyone who? Georgia down at the Dollar General? I mean, good Lord, that woman has 2 teeth and she flunked out of junior high. Like, don't listen to her, you know? And this stuff, no, talking to it, I mean, I probably catch flack from those who are desperate to commune, but I have had encounters with hundreds upon hundreds of people who have had similar situations, and talking to it is always a bad idea. If it wanted to talk, it would talk to you.
Okay, that's what I thought. That was my gut feeling. I was like, you know, it's easy to tell someone to do that, but you know, I'm confined in here. I don't want to start any trouble. You know
those people have no skin in the game. I mean, could you do it? Sure. There's a bunch of different ways that are a hell of a lot more effective, I found, than most people use. But at the same time, it's kind of like ripping a hole in a sheet. You can sew it back up, but it's never really the same.
David, would you say that kind of, because I've seen and heard a lot of things about Skinwalker Ranch, and that's almost like it's an opening, but with John, it seems to follow him wherever it goes. Now, they said at the Skinwalker Ranch, it did follow the family. Would you say that's a similar situation
to
John's situation?
Yeah, actually, yeah. I think it. I can't tell if the location you live at. I mean, we've never met. The location, like your location, could act like that because of you, or you could be having that because of your location. The fact that it started when you were 14, you'd have to do some backdating, and then there's other questions like things about your childhood, things about what do you dream? Do you ever talk to a woman and your man in your dreams? Is it very lucid dreaming? Do they ever appear as yourself? And have you ever had any of those things happen? Either a man, stranger, a strange woman, or yourself. And you'll know it. It'll be different than any other dream.
Mm-hmm. No, I've never had anything like that.
All right. So then I would take it a different direction then. You could have been exposed. It could have happened. It could have been happenstance, and something about you has been changed. You ever had a head injury? Serious head injury? Around the time you were 14?
I got hit in the head with a pair of like snips that were thrown off scaffolding.
How old were you? Around 14?
No, I was older. I was probably like 18.
Then that's a
couple years after.
That's it. So when you go to look at that, I mean, I don't have a rhyme or reason. I'm sure shit no expert. And I can only base it off my case and some of the ones of other, like, so I've met people before that they didn't know if they were haunted or their area was haunted. And then you come to find out that their mother was into all kinds of weird shit, and they were into weird shit when they were a kid, and they didn't know it because they thought it was just some game. And you realize they're into like ritual sacrifice, and they're like, oh, well, now everything sort of makes sense. Some people lived in energized places, and they themselves seem to take a piece of that with them. And, you know, something else seems to be able to, I mean, yeah, I say these things, but it really depends on how do you see reality? Like, what is reality? And that sounds like some hippie bullshit, but there's truth to it. You know,
I agree.
I think the biggest problem with this whole genre is like I said earlier, we lack the words, we lack the language to describe what this phenomenon is, how it's related. We don't even understand the terms. Like, it's kind of like sitting down to a coloring book and not knowing what any of the colors are because you've never seen them before.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yeah, sure, it's a color by number, but if you don't know what colors are, well, you don't know what the hell you're doing. It's just a jumble. So I've spent a lot of time dedicated to trying figuring that out, just for my own sake. But whether it's you or not, I honestly, if I met you, I'd be able to tell you without fail. But across here, I mean, I know there's a lot of, and I'm not psychic. I know there's a lot of psychic people. I got the vibe I just think those people are lonely and full of shit. But we would figure it out pretty quick. Likeness, when you get it together in a room physically, there's a spark to it. Like, I'm someone that's not, whatever's going on with me has to do with me. I know that. With you, it could have been a place you were at or a thing that you were exposed to, or maybe it was happenstance or whatever it is. The fact that it continues shows that there's either a mark difference in you or marked change, somehow marked. Let's go with that.
It's
like I said,
everywhere I live.
Yeah, so like that, then it's you. But the real kicker is, and I don't know if you've ever thought about this, is do you change the places you've been? If it's been attracted to you and you at some level of consciousness or energy or frequency or whatever new age term you want to use, you're changing the atmosphere around you because it happens when you're not there.
David,
right?
when you say John's marked, what do you mean by that?
It's a different subject that I don't think is smart to go down. But
from yeah. like from the last
yeah
interview we did, but the first interview we did. Okay,
yeah. So then it would lend itself to be you, kind of like if you look at. Did you ever see that old movie Stir of Echoes?
Yes, with Kevin Bacon.
There's a great scene in that I think speaks volumes. It's the little kids run around the cemetery and the lady runs into the cop and he like looks at her and he's like, you know, your kid's got a really good flashlight, looks at hers, not you, is it daddy? And she nods, you know, he's like, hey, have daddy come see me. And I think that's a good analogy that some people have a flashlight and I think some of them, like, not only can it be intermittent, but it can be directional. Like it can act as a beacon and it may be only like if you had a giant flashlight on the top of your head pointed into the ceiling, right? Then occasionally, depending on how you turn and where you go, you're going to get glimpses of what's in front of you illuminated, correct? But everything else knows where you are. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense.
And I think some people have that same flashlight pointed behind them. So shit's just following them around, but they don't ever really notice it. And then some people have all three. Like they have it pointing forwards, backwards, and up in the air, and that's the curse that they live with. So, you know, I don't know. I mean, I've seen the footage you've shown me. I've seen things very similar. I saw very similar things last night. So that's another interesting thing. You can have wildly haunted locations, and some people just know it on an instinctual level, and other people blunder through, live there for years, and nothing happens. You know, why is that?
Yeah,
who knows, man? Who knows?
I pretty much believe the same thing. Like some people can just see everything, and some people can't. You know, I don't know why, but I can't see stuff all the time. It's only like some of the time. Like I've only seen a ghost once. Do you think if you see ghosts, you see ghosts all the time? I'm like a one and done kind of situation. Everything's like one time, and then I move on to the next thing. That's the strangest part to me.
See, I don't call them ghosts because I've spent time talking to them, and what they appear as is not, at least the ones I've encountered, what they appear as is not what they are. Not sure that we can understand what they are, and I don't think that they would be honest about it, you know. And whether it's, I had a person ask me one time, and they were dealing with some stuff in their life, and they're like, "Do you think this is malevolent or benevolent, and I was like, well, I mean, how would you know either? And they're like, what do you mean? It's like, what is morality to an ant or an orangutan? You know, that's you. Can an ant possibly divine my ways or means or thoughts? Hell no. I may destroy its ant mound so I can lay some sod, or I may dig up the whole colony and move it off to the side so I can lay sod. Either way, it's a traumatic to the ant. You know, it can't tell if I'm hurting it or for it. It just knows the world's ending. So I think when we deal with things of this nature, it's just best to be small and humble. You know.
So David, back on that. So you think that this, whatever this thing is, maybe not, how do I put this, from like,
this is where we lack the language, we lack the words to even properly describe it.
Words for it, like, yeah. So you're not saying it's from a spiritual world?
Well, I mean, see, here's the thing: if we use words have power. I believe that. When we say spirit world, everybody immediately goes to a preconceived idea in their mind of what that is. That's going to fall back on what you learned as a kid, what faith you have, what you studied, where you went, all that. But it may have nothing to do with the reality of the situation, right? Because we're not speaking in clearly defined terms, because there is no term for whatever the hell this is. Yeah, so I don't like to use the word spirit world, because everyone thinks, you mean where my Aunt Nana is? And well, hell no, the thing's 7 feet tall and black. What about that screams to you it's your aunt? You know what I mean? Like, your cat was strangled on the front porch. Did your aunt hate cats? No, that was her cat. Well, then everything seems odd now, doesn't it? So I don't like those terms. I mean, we use them and we have to, because, like I said, we lack the ability to describe what they are. We lack the ability to describe many things. We just ignore the fact, you know.
So I don't know if this is one of your questions, John, and if it is, tell me if it is. But so it was 15 years old. You saw the two figures at the window. You described what was a gray.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
David, on the back of that, because you've never seen anything like that.
I've never seen a no. I've seen things physically manifest, but they do not appear as a gray alien. So I've also witnessed things that other people have witnessed with me, and I generally see the same sorts of things. And they'll be like, "Oh, look at that Civil War soldier." It's like, nothing about that looks like a Civil War soldier. What the fuck are you talking about? And I don't know if that is the nature of the phenomenon, because there is a trickster, but. Well, see, so Oswaldo, if I can jump to that, I like that, what he's saying there, but this is the kicker. Like, we always assume that the entities are hiding on Earth or in a semi-hidden plane. I think that's a wonderful question. But how do you know we're not intruding on their plane? What if we're the anomaly to their world?
That's interesting. I just had a conversation with a fellow that's coming on the channel, because Jeff Young, and he has a paranormal channel where he ghost hunts, and in the conversation he actually said these things have been here way before us, he believes, and it's not necessary. He called it alien, but he said, what do we think as of alien? Is it something coming from a different planet, or is it something that was here in the first place?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a legitimate thought, and as to, like, why would John have interest that happened when he was 14? What about John triggered? Maybe it's something special and magical and unique. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's not even discernible. Like, so I recently had a pretty in-depth conversation with no, I won't say who, but anyway, and we were talking about my particular case, and we were running different scenarios. And maybe this will relate to you, John, is there's nothing extraordinary about me in my life. I'm not an extraordinary person. I'm odd. I have a lot of friends, and I have a lot of people who'd like to shoot me with a beanbag. So I think I'm just a normal dude. right? There's nothing unique. I'm not changing the world. I'm not discovering any. That's never going to happen. So why? And he and I were talking about it. And again, I go to, is it a genetic defect? Is it this or that? And this isn't my theory, but he had said, like people have recently got into the paranormal, like if you take DMT, it puts you into the machine elf realm or whatever like that. And it's some alternate, and you produce DMT when you sleep. Maybe I have and maybe you, John, maybe we have a brain that produces some extra chemical that makes you a beacon to other things to flock to, because that seems to be what's happening. And for me to be able to perceive things that shouldn't be, maybe that's all it is.
That makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. Because every time I encounter something, it's always just looking at me. Like I always feel like it's there just looking at me. The interaction is very, very limited. So they pop up and stare into my eyes for a little bit and they're gone.
Yeah. And see, that's
David,
and it's always
just before you go into that, John, do you mind bringing up I mean, I know we're saving most of the evidence for the vlog, but for the viewers that have been waiting, do you mind bringing up a good screen share of some of the stuff that's going on in your apartment? And and then you can let the guys know what you've done to debunk this. But yeah, David, carry on while John brings that up. Sorry.
Oh, I don't know, man. I had a flighty thought going on, but it's something I've been dedicating a lot of time to. Maybe a switch topic to get here, and I don't know. Maybe it brings in. Are you guys familiar with the physicist James Gates?
No.
Okay, James Gates, physicist, brilliant guy, works on string theory. He does a lot. He's doing a lot of out there stuff. Anyway, when he's diagnosing like fractal patterns that are mathematical, not fractal patterns, there's a specific name for it. Anyway, it's a picturesque representation of mathematical language they use to describe parts of like the universe. And they found a repeating code, a code that was developed in the 40s for computer programming, and in fact is the base code for the internet today. Like when you type in and do search queries in the internet, there's a piece of base code from the 1940s the Sheldon guy came up with that helps fill in the data and helps it to move more naturally to make things seamless. It fills in gaps on the data. And he's found that like in nature, like in the world, in the universe, and the definitions that we use to describe gravity between stars. And he sees it repeating. Wow. Now, what does that say? Nothing. And he says in his own words, it's more questions than answers. Mm-hmm. Maybe the dark shadows we see, or maybe the grays that John saw, hell, maybe they're the IT support fixing a patch, man. I don't know.
Well, I've got a good friend of mine that says it's all the Matrix.
I know people who think that, but then that comes down to like what we define as a matrix. Are we all plugged in, or I don't know. That gets into the nature of consciousness, and that's why I shy away from the matrix theory, just because of consciousness. Like if we stop talking and we all think of McDonald's in our heads, you'll be able to hear that in your head. You hear that in your mind, right? You can visualize in your mind's eye a McDonald's Big Mac, right? Anyone can do it. Here's the thing. Your brain is just neural electrochemical responses. There's not a projector in there. There's not an audio booth. So how are you hearing this echo in your head? How are you seeing that picture? Neuroscience goes into all that, but when you actually sift through their research, it's mostly they don't fucking know. Mm-hmm. I wish they would just say that. I mean, they don't have to say they don't fucking know. They could just say, I don't know. But,
no, I think you hit the nail on the head there. I don't think anybody knows. And going back to the Jeff Young that will be on the show coming up, he said to me tonight, I can't call myself an investigator of this because, I'm interested in the subject. I love the subject, but there's nobody who's an expert in this field because they can't be.
No. Mm-hmm. No, and like some of the videos like John showed us earlier, the flash and the shadow, one, it's obviously trying to avoid the camera. Two, it is clearly hiding from it. So that shows intelligence, intentions, and it's being sneaky. So people are like, well, it's benevolent. Well, fuck, if it's benevolent, why is it hiding?
Yeah.
So John, give us a little bit of a backdrop with this story and what you've done to debunk it. I know you've got the fan in the background there, but the fan is not turned on because I've asked you that question so many times. Yes.
So you see my screen, right? The figure behind the couch?
Yeah, is this one of the videos?
No, this is just the still shot. I was going to show the still before the video.
I think the video is probably the best one to show because that's what the it kind of develops into.
The video of the figure or the shadow?
Just to show people what's going on in the apartment, because we've been looking. So both Goof on Radio, Dark Hour Paranormal, and myself, we've been keeping an eye on what's going on in your apartment, and we've asked if it's dust to start off with. And a few was thought it may be dust, but then we've seen. Have you got can you explain the story here?
Yeah. So this every morning when I wake up, I start recording. I record till I'm halfway to work and I shut it off. I do that every single morning. So this video here, I'm already gone. I left for work about an hour before this. So on the right side of the screen, you're going to see a light appear, and you're going to see a shadow kind of scurry from the light and go behind the couch. And then you're going to see it pop its head up. And to me, it looks like it looks at the camera. And when it notices the camera, it drops back down real quick. And then 20 seconds later, the light goes out. And I've tried to debunk this myself, trying to duplicate the light in the shadow of myself. And I couldn't get anything close to this.
So for the viewer, John, if you just point out where it is.
The light will appear right here. And then you'll see a shadow about this tall from here down, scurry across and hide behind the couch here. And then it'll pop its head up right here. You'll see a head and a shoulder right here. So I'm going to play that now.
So I don't know if your cursor will be showing. I can see your cursor, but basically that's at the end of the couch.
So there's the light, there's the shadow, and right here it pops up and ducks back down. So I'll play that again.
That's at the end of the count to the right of the screenshot.
Yep. And it's crazy how it peeks its head up to look and knows to duck back down. Like the camera's positioned looking pretty much directly at it. So here it is again. The light's going to appear and you see it come out and pop its head up.
And would you say this is similar to the figure that you saw that jumped into the wall?
Not at all. Not even close.
Because you saw a figure one night when you came. Was that quite a few years ago?
That was about 10 years ago. That figure looked like a human 100%. Like it looked like somebody with clothing on and hair was just outlined and filled jet black. This figure had like a head shaped like a light bulb. And it was black, but it was a little fuzzy around the edges. But it was totally different than when I saw it the first time. I think the first one I saw wasn't actually a shadow person. And then you see the light goes out on its own. Now I try to replicate the light many times, and it's impossible to even get something like that.
Can you show one of the ones where there is loads of these? I mean, I know there's a lot of people that might think that these are dust, but I think I've got roughly about 20 gigs worth of footage that you've sent me so far. And also you've sellotaped the windows, you've turned your ventilation off for a week. We did that as well, didn't we?
Yeah, I taped off all the heaters and everything, and see, I'm not 100% sure where that video actually is. That is one video I didn't have up and ready.
Earlier, where there was literally loads of them, and they were moving in all different directions.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. I'm just not sure exactly where that one is.
So David, actually, when you look at this, do you see dust or?
No, I don't think it's dust.
Here's one. There's a lot of orbs shooting straight up. It's kind of a little fuzzy, but this is a video where you'll see a shadow run across the heater a couple times. Right there, you see that? The motion sensor picked it up. Now, I was home when this happened, but I tried to replicate a shadow on this heater, and I would have to be standing right here in my living room for me to get a shadow from my kitchen right here.
So I have a question about the layout of your apartment. So that other video we saw where it highlighted in the corner and the shadow went to the corner,
Yes.
is that the same corner that one's running across your heater?
Yes, this is the corner, the same corner here where it ran across. To me, it looked like the light was somewhere back here, like maybe on the floor or something that appeared.
Now, see, that's interesting.
Now it goes back and forth. This one has a lot of orbs as well, but it scurries back and forth a few times. And like I said, I tried to replicate my own shadow on there, and I had to stand like pretty much right here to even get my shadow on this heater at all.
Mm-hmm.
And as you can see, I'm nowhere in the area here.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't worry about that, man. I don't think I think it's all very legit. You know, the problem is people always say, well, dust or a shadow or this or that. And I mean, the reality is any miracle you've ever heard of through history can be recreated with little time and ingenuity. So you either roll with it or you don't. The problem is people get so caught up on that, the minutia of it, that, you know, they miss the forest for the leaf.
Yeah, I saw that then, John. The shadow and they actually pick the square. What's it doing? It's picking it.
It's a motion sensor, so the camera picks up the motion. So I'm going to hit play. It's going to start to run across, but then you see it stop and cut back.
So that's right here. So that's the radiator piece.
Right there. Yep. It just ducks right back. And see it pop its head up behind the light a little bit. It's still in that corner. You know, that's 100% not me. I don't. You know, it's like scurrying, like it sees the camera and it doesn't know what to do, like it doesn't know where to go. Is the
things like that always scurry.
You know, it looks like hunched over, like it's kind of lurking around. And
so Hopper Mallow says, could it be due to the window outside, the window and outside light contaminating the room to make the shadow?
No. The only reason I say no is because I've watched 2 months of footage of just my living room. So I know how car lights affect it. I know how the sun affects everything. You know, I know how light, you know, is portrayed in my living room inside and out from like every angle. So, you know, I got plenty of videos where I'll see lights shine across the wall, but I'll know it's a car driving by, you know. So that's me turning the lights off. I'm getting ready to leave work. I'm leaving my apartment right now. And that's my GPS you hear. And as soon as I leave, the orb activity gets a little more crazy. Like the motion sensor is still picking stuff up, but I don't see nothing. Like that's me shutting the door.
But it's picking it up from the same corner. You've had multiple shadow people run too.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you see the orbs just start going crazy when I leave.
I mean, correlation isn't causality, but correlation is definitely you have shadow people running to one specific corner of your room.
So one thing I will say, when you see the orbs going crazy when you leave, so I know as debunkers we would be saying you've just slammed a door. Could that just not have brought up a load of dust in the house?
No, there's no way. You know, I mean, there's sometimes I'll leave and the orbs won't start for, you know, maybe 20 seconds, 15 seconds after the door shuts. Sometimes, for the most part, they start while I'm there, but they start slowly. It don't pick up till I leave, but it's impossible to have that much dust in my place. I mean, you can see my place is pretty spotless. There's not a pocket of dust like that anywhere in my apartment.
Yeah, I'm going to bring us back in now.
Okay. All right.
We've actually, I'm quite addicted to them, but yeah, no, we commented on how spotless your house is. Yeah, you can, and there was a piece of Lego up my ass earlier on.
The foundational building blocks.
So what else do you have for David then, question wise?
David, what made you want to reach out to speak to other people that had the same type of experiences as you have? Like, how did you start that process?
Yeah, see, the kicker is it wasn't my idea, and I don't think I can really go into it more than that.
Gotcha.
It wasn't of my own. My life's pretty good. I wouldn't go out of it to complicate it with a bunch of crazy people with these things, if it was up to me.
I know the answer to that, John. You don't want to know that.
Yeah. Also, how have you like kept the stuff you've dealt with separate from like your business life or personal life?
It's
Because for
not.
me, it carries over and it almost destroys every other aspect, or at least it used to.
And see that this is where I think some of the differences come down. Like so there isn't from my professional life. I'm usually in charge or employing, so I don't really give a shit what anyone else thinks. If you're signing the checks, your thought's really the only one that matters. As far as like my family and people, friends in my close circle, a few friends I've revealed 100% of everything to, and it's changed their world, in ways that I don't know. Being around me, you'll be affected. Everybody notices it at some level or another. And so the people I tend that stay around and stay close are, you start hearing that they have experiences with people that were possessed and this and that, and then you can understand why we relate. As far as my family goes, unfortunately, my children suffer the same affliction. My poor wife just has to endure. She actually said one night that I should have came with a warning label because she didn't sign up for this bullshit.
Wow.
It was the night our cameras were going crazy. I think I sent Ollie. I think I sent you.
Yes,
I sent you video of that from my
yes,
phone.
I need to put that out. I need to edit it because we need to get your family's voices out of the video.
Oh yeah. So, and like,
but that's
how do you?
I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah, and it's like, how do you wrestle with that when your son comes in, or you hear him crying in the room? My wife will go check on him, and he's like, "No, mommy, I need to talk to daddy. These are the things we don't talk to you about." And my wife's like, "Why don't you talk to mom? You talk to mommy about anything." And she goes, "They say it'll scare you." And so she just like turns white as a sheet, walks out of the room. She's like, "That's your son. You deal with that. I didn't sign up for this." And so I mean, that's all of my children.
And I've met David's wife briefly, and she said as much. She said as much as that in the kitchen. Yeah. So Ginger Steve has a great question for you both, and I'll start with John with this one. What do the guests think of the shadow people?
That's a good question. If my answer now, I would lean towards interdimensional being. But what I don't understand is, why is it so sneaky? Like, I seen this thing in person 2 weeks ago in my hallway, clear as day, and just like peeked his head out of, like, say this is like the wall of my hallway. It like peeked out on an angle, like on a 45-degree angle. His whole body peeked out. Saw the shoulders and like a light bulb head. And it was black, but like a dark, smoky look. Looked nothing like the one I saw before. And I saw in the corner of my eye, and I'm looking at my TV, and I can see it. I'm looking at it in the corner of my eye, and as soon as I turn my head, it just ducks away. I think it's interdimensional, but I just wonder why it just lurks around and like hides and just takes peeks at me. Or I hear it. That's how it is for a lot of people. Like it's always in the corner of the eye, looking when you're not looking. But I think the way they act is so strange. That part kind of stumps me.
What about you, David? On the back of,
I think they are friends to no one, and their behavior is predatory. It's why you get goosebumps when they're looking at you. It's why you know to pay attention out of the corner of your eye. If you've ever been to a big cat exhibit and you've been stared at by one of those fuckers, even though you're not looking at it, it's looking at you. Everything about their behavior is predatory. Easiest way to deal with that. What's that?
They're intelligent too, because from what I can tell, they see my cameras. They do not want to be recorded.
Yeah, and see what about that behavior seems benevolent? It doesn't. And again, maybe they're also hiding. And so are they scared of us? If you remind me of that later, maybe I'll talk about that.
So that's the question.
The easiest thing is
are they scared of us? So you're going to come back to that?
Yeah. So the best thing I think is to, John, next time you see it, call it out. Call it out. Don't try and get a better look at it. Don't try and bend your mind to it. Don't let your heart rate face directly where it is, flip on the light and march that way and say either fucking show up or get out. Now, I will say that with the caveat, I have had it just show up. But, you know, hey, 99.997% of the time, they just go away. And if that one happens, just roll with it.
When you say call it out,
yeah.
How? I mean, what do you call it?
I mean, you. Hey, you. Looking at me. What the fuck are you doing?
I thought about that too.
Absolutely do that. It's part of expressing dominion and will over your property, over your things. This is your place. If you notice, Rican, John, this is the thing to take away from this, I think, is maybe you notice when you leave the room, all the activity increases?
Yes.
Because when you're in the room, it is suppressed. You have to choose to evict it. Just exert your will over it and it'll be done. Yeah.
See, this is the frustrating for me listening to this, because this is new to me. But when you're saying you got to choose to evict it, how do we do that?
Make a decision and follow through.
There's so many people asking me, like sending me messages, asking me, saying that they think they're possessed or they're being abducted, this, that, and the other. And I think this all boils down to maybe this situation that you described, David. So that, how do we actually get this? How do we get it to piss off?
Tell it to piss off and mean it. I mean that in the thoroughest. Your words have power. Your intention, your thought. A human being is far more than flesh and blood and muscle. And then nobody realizes that. Nobody takes it. Like the fact, John, if you think about it, I mean, seriously, take a second to think about it. Activity picks up when you leave. As you've talked about this, you've taken a dark fear and you've bring it into the light. And everything has gotten better. The shadows hide. That says everything about the nature inherent to them. Mm-hmm. You want peace? You want your house? Take it. That's all you got to do.
So he's got to confront this shadow.
Oh yeah. Speak it loudly into the world, right? Because it's one thing to think it, it's one thing to hope it, and it's another thing to actually shit in your hand and smear it on the wall. Only one of those things is effective. It will get results. Same thing. Speaking your intention to quote unquote the universe or the world, there's power to that, man. I don't understand it. I don't possess the mind to, but it works. You know, it's kind of like you find people that think they're possessed or truly are possessed, or have family members or they're under oppression or there's a demonic influence in their life. And these people bump into me and they're like, what do I do? It's like, well, I mean, I can help you, but I can't do anything for you. I'm just a dude. You have to do that. Now, if you're fully possessed and some outside force decides to intervene, then yeah, you know, right place, right time, shit happens and it's amazing. So also you'll brown your pants in the process, but you know, I don't think you can judge anyone for that.
Yeah. You know, but the thing is too, I'm kind of waiting to get that definitive evidence. I don't know if I wanted it to go away quite yet.
So and with the definitive evidence, buddy, everybody, I mean, you know, do as you will. I'm not in charge of nothing, but if I were to recommend one thing, don't waste your time. The inherent trickster nature of this thing is what it does. It does this professionally. And if this is the aspect that you deal with, then that is probably the easiest one. To try and get actual proof of evidence, no one will ever do that. While they're chicken shits and terrified of people, and I mean, you're a soul. You're not a person. You're not a body. You're not a physical. You're a soul that's running this biomechanical, beautifully engineered and made unique meat suit that, you know, has its own combustion engine that runs off biodiversity of the fuel and its nature, and it's running to this. I mean, you think about all those things, it's amazing, but that's not you, right? It's just a suit. You want to make your suit bigger, you lift heavy things, it gets bigger, right? You want your thing to run further, then you train it to run further. It's equipment, but it's not you. You're much more than your meat suit, and you're infinitely more able, capable, and powerful. And the shadow slinky entities that can just barely manifest, I have a lot of theories. None of them are worth getting into. But
so, by the looks of this day, Gustav has tried to confront. Like, you see the. Can you see the message?
Yeah. So I mean, so him talking about it, fighting back like that, is absolutely part of the necessary, and that's part of why it has to be verbal. So when you say, like, how do you do a thing, it's, you know, how did you propose to your wife? You mustered up the courage, you moved forward, you got down on a knee, and you did it. And then whatever came after, but you did it, and that's the start. Same thing with that. Literally speak it into being. And some people with faith, if you have faith, it makes it infinitely easier. Infinitely easier. People that are into a lot of the new age shit makes it infinitely harder, and a lot of that backfires because they don't.
Are you saying you need to have kind of like a religious aspect to yourself?
Well, I don't like the religious aspect. I think that has negative connotation, right? Again, the definition of words that we use brings up preconceived ideas and notions. I don't like. I mean, you need to have faith, man. You need to have faith that there's more to you, and there's more to the universe, and that you matter and have a place in it.
To give some of the viewers a backdrop of your history, so you've researched, you've gone through everything from UFOs, everything. You've even paid to meet Travis Walton. You know,
I paid to meet a bunch of people. He would just happen to be there. He was such a dick. Such a dick.
But you believe him?
Heard that.
I do believe him. I don't believe his whole story. I do believe that him and his buddy saw something on a hill. I do believe that something happened to him. I also think that he may have changed the narrative a little bit, because if you listen to all the other guys and you listen to him, there's certain topics they tend to avoid. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, look at the stand, and here's again this nature. So you bring up the nature of this entity and what you're trying to capture, John, which is admirable. I get it. And again, I'm no expert opinion. I just live with weird shit. If you look at Skinwalker Ranch right now, I could give you 5 or 6 names of people who are investigating it, who are getting sued by the owner, who are, because I dived into that. Like, I wanted to go out there and spend time. I was contacting people, figure out who I had to pay. And I kind of rolled into this shit show. And I've noticed this consistently around areas where the phenomenon manifests. People kind of like gold fever go after it. They're chasing it. I need the evidence. I need the proof. I need to move fast. Like, there's something to this. I can find this. I can do it. It always ends in a shit show. Nobody gets famous from it. Nobody gets the evidence they want. It's always just around the corner, and it's always outside of the reach. And I think that is part of the trickster nature of these entities. Like, that frustration and just fucking with you. It's a way to mess with your psyche, mess with your mind, get you to doubt yourself. And once you have that chink in your armor, they just keep chipping. You know, and the thing is, like, a lot of people think these things. So you also have people that'll go the opposite road, right? You'll have people that'll go down the dark path to try and prove that light exists, or they think it's a faster road to get evidence. And they're like, well, nothing manifested. You don't know that nothing manifested. It just chose not to give you what you want. You have no idea how much of a thing you bring into reality. You have no idea what it is, what it can do. And these things can physically fucking manifest. And that is an entirely different situation that I pray never occurs to any person ever. But for what the gentleman had said earlier, things will tick up. Like, so if John goes, you know, this is my place, I want you out. I exert my will, my power. This is mine. Out. Either show up and do something about it or get the fuck out. things may pick up, but if you keep that tone, it's kind of like being in a bar and you can sense that the atmosphere has gone to a fight. You know, you either got to make your decision and I'm going to walk through that door and what happens, happens, or I'm going to sit here and then things are only going to get worse. It's a choice that has to be made.
Gotcha. Yeah. So do you think everything that's happening in my apartment right now is all connected? Like, do you think, let's say I get rid of the shadow person, are the orbs going to go along with it? With the figures I'm capturing, is that all one connected thing, or like what are your thoughts on that?
So I don't know, man. I don't know. I know how to get it out of your apartment and get you a little rest and relax. Mm-hmm. I think that is part of it. I see things outside my house. My kids see. The one thing I am promised is my house. I actually have a friend who sometimes comes and sleeps here because he has experiences, and this is where he can find. This is mine. It doesn't cross my threshold, and it doesn't. I don't mean with that word what you think I might mean with that word. And for you, you can do the same thing. Is there always going to be activity? Yeah, there's always activity in my house. I could tell you about a bubble that flew around a ceiling fan and chased my kids up and down the stairs and bopped my dog in the nose, or my wife seeing, thousands of shiny little twinkle lights move through the house in a whirling pattern. And
I've seen that.
Yeah, I tell you about,
I've seen your video.
It for you, everybody's different, man. I don't know why. If I had to guess with you, John, there's something about you that's a beacon. It's a shining light, but the light isn't bright enough to really see anything or get anything, but for whatever reason, it's flashing. Maybe you have a bit of a genetic abnormality in your electrical system or neural response, or who knows? Maybe it's shit we can't even quantify. Your electromagnetic field is one whatever out of whatever, and it allows it to happen.
David,
so that's a thing.
Another question. I'm sorry if I don't get to everybody's questions in the chat. It's hard to concentrate on the live stream and the chat. But
I'm not reading the chat.
if I do miss one, I am sorry. But this just popped up. So, David, do you think these experiences are here to test us?
Well, see, that question alludes to what do I think is more or after or before, and you can also derive from that reincarnation or not. And I know for a fact I am not reincarnated. I know that with certainty. I think some people are. Are they here to test us? Man, I have no idea. I have seen bizarre shit that had no rhyme or reason. It couldn't be a test. I had that incident when I was on the beach.
Oh God, can we have that story, please? That might go. So Steve had a question earlier, and I don't know if you was waiting to bring that story when he said, let me go back up the chat. It was a super chat, so it popped straight up. That one there, where he said, are they scared of us? And I think you can answer the question here when you tell this story.
Well, and that's like, so by that, so I think he's talking about the shadow figures, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think they are terrified of us. I think most of that is. See, that comes down to.
So sorry to cut you off there, David. But just You rang me. You went on holiday. You rang me while you were on holiday and told me about this experience. So I know about this story.
Yeah.
Was that not a shadow figure?
No. That was a physical. They had footprints, bro. They were people.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know that they were people, but whatever. But for the shadow thing, I think. Well, I know that they are. Those shadow people are what I would equate to the things that, like people. What is it? The old Southern Baptist ladies on their way to church. Not today, Satan. Everything is something else. Shadow people, I think, like to play with your emotions and your consciousness and your sanity if they can. And just their presence tends to be a drain. So there's nothing good to come from that. And I think they are, because once you realize what it is and you can find someone who can help you, you find how easy it is to evict them from your space. But
So let's hear the story. I can hear it again. People
Oh,
need
the beach.
the beach.
Like
Yeah.
I'm talking a lot.
No, but listen, we need to hear this story. I think John needs to hear this story as well. John, it probably shit you up.
So I don't know. To reemphasize, I'm not a small man, and I'm always armed, and I've done cool things in cool places with cool dudes and cool stuff. But anyway, so I went with my family. We rented a beach house in Florida with our own private beach, and there's a lot of beach houses with their own private beaches. And when I was there, I rang up Ollie to brag and to rub it in his face a little because he's got that good English weather. I wanted to show him my beautiful beach and sunrise. Talk shit. But anyway, so I went out one night. And I have a ultraviolet light that I use when I'm in places like that. I use in places anytime I go somewhere that has scorpions, right? Because they'll glow, and they're like the black light UV light thinger. Like that's what I bought it for. Anyway, it's a low intensity wavelength, so it doesn't spread very far. So I was using that to go out to the beach, and on this beach there's like no lights, no nothing. And we've been there for a while now. We've been there several days. I know who's in which beach house and which isn't. That's kind of situational awareness stuff I tend to be obsessed with. And these people, it was a woman and a kid, and the kid was in the ocean, and she's standing there, and the wind's blowing, and they're probably 80 yards away. I'd say they're about 80 yards away. And I could tell she was a woman because the wind was blowing, and the storms were coming in, and there was lightning, but there was just enough ambient light from some of the distant houses that it could still kind of like bounce off the clouds, and you would kind of see what's going on, right? I wish I had grabbed my night vision. I had it with me. I also had my thermals. I should have grabbed that. But that was just dumb of me. Anyway, so I'm out there, and I'm looking at the ocean swell, so it's high tide now, and the ocean waves are coming in like fucking 6 feet, right? Like this is big. I'm 6'3", 280. That's not all muscle, that's for sure. But I'm a stout former Division I athlete. Americans, I think, will understand that reference. And I'm like watching her, and as I'm sitting there watching her and her kid's just kind of jumping in the waves. And I go and kind of put my feet in, and not only is the waves crashing, but it has a hell of an undertow. We were under red flag advisory the whole time. The suction is like burying my feet in the sand, and I pull out of that, and I stand back up, and I'm like, damn. And again, over there, this kid's just jumping like it's nothing. And it's just a kid. I mean, he had to be, I assume it's a he, 8 or 9. I don't know. He's that boyish build. And the woman standing there, and as I'm looking over there, she turns and looks at me, and so does the kid. And I just snap my head forward. Very predator-prey response now that I think about it. And I definitely thought about it afterwards. And the hairs on my neck start raising up, and I'm like, something isn't right. Something isn't right. And I have that voice in my head just kind of going off. It's like, you need to get the fuck back. Get back, lock the doors. Get back, lock the doors. And I'm like, this is stupid. I'm not going to do this. I got my Glock. I've trained for this kind of stuff for years. It is a woman and a boy. Get over it. And then I had a moment of clarity, and a sound voice came through and said, that's what every person who disappears thinks. So I turned around and ran my ass 150 yards, taking the steps 2 at a time, sprinting like a maniac, ran in, locked the doors, turned on all the exterior floodlights, and chambered my rifle. And my wife's like, what's wrong? And I told her, I was like, I don't know. I don't know. Something's wrong. Something isn't right. Gives me goosebumps now thinking about it. I mean, I laugh out of awkward fear. And I mean, I've dealt with exorcisms and demonic things and things that manifested and some other very weird shit. And I've never been afraid. Other things in my life that have very near death experiences, been fine. That scared the shit out of me. And maybe it was just an overreaction on my part. I'll never know, and I don't care to ever know. But it's
something about that just for you just made you want to scout.
Well, yeah, because part of the thing, like, so that the warning, if you will, that I was given, that you just needed, like, everybody who disappears thinks that. I'm thinking I'm out here with a giant undertow. If I don't come back in, they're just going to think that fucking idiot swam out in the ocean thinking he could deal with it, and they'll never see me again. no one would ever see me again. You're talking about an 8-9-year-old boy jumping in 6-foot waves that have an undertow that I was up a foot and I could feel it. It's literally sucking the sand out from under my feet if you've ever been at a beach when it does that.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, hell, I'm not getting in that water. That's dumb. And this kid's just jumping around. And his mom's standing over there all freaking weird. And both of their heads were just fixed on me. Because when they'd first turned towards me, I turned away like, oh, I'm probably some fucking creepy guy. And then I'm like, how the hell do they even know I'm down here? And I kind of turned back and they're still looking. And that's when you need to fucking run. And I ran. I ran like a coward.
I would have ran too.
Not my bravest moment in my life, man. I once stood down a homeless guy who was swinging a lead pipe, and I was unarmed, and that's a laughable situation. But the woman and the kid at the beach, something's wrong with that. Everything is wrong with that. And the thing is, the beach house that they were at, nobody's there. There was nobody on 3 beach houses on the side of us, and these are big tracts of land where we're staying. I mean, yeah. Like, where were they? How did they get there? You don't just fucking walk up on this place. I don't know.
I would have. I don't think I'd have gone down there myself anyway. I'm a bit of a coward.
Yeah,
I was going out there with my thermal and my night vision, like looking at the sky and stuff, but it was stormy in the evenings.
So John, you had a situation. I think it was a few years after when you saw the 2 grey faces, where you were at your friend's house and you saw, was it a white lady?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I woke up in the middle of the night and she was standing there, and
she wasn't going like this, was she?
Yeah, she's staring at me like everything else, but the detail that I seen was ridiculous. Like, the detail was pretty amazing, but it was like barely translucent, and she was like off the floor maybe a couple inches. Just stared at me.
So like so you've seen, that's what interests me. You've seen the shadow figures, you've seen the greys, and you see. So I saw a white lady. Apparently, my mum tells me this all the time. I don't remember it when I was a kid. And you've seen a white lady.
Yeah, who was my friend's aunt. And what's crazy is that I was sleeping in his basement, so I was on a couch. He had another bed on the other side. The ghost paid no attention to him whatsoever. She was standing there staring at me while her nephew.
Did you say she hung herself or something?
Yeah, on the second floor of that house about 20 years before that, 20 or 25 years, I believe.
How did we find out? I can't remember how we found out that it was his aunt. Did you tell him?
Oh, I woke him up once it disappeared, and he went and actually brought me a picture of his aunt, and he was like, "Is this the person that you saw?" And I was just blown the hell away. I was like, "That's exactly." I mean, it was like no more than 3 feet away from me, if probably less.
Did he ask you this because he'd seen her himself? Had the family seen the ghost, or?
He didn't mention that, but he knew that his aunt hung herself in the house. I don't remember talking anything further.
That sounds like he knew that. That sounds like a few people may have seen her.
Possibly. We've never had that conversation as far as I can remember. I mean, that's like 20, 25 years ago. No, I'm sorry. It was like 21 years ago. So I don't remember talking about that, though. I just described the lady. He showed me the picture, and I was like, that was her. And I didn't go to his house for a little bit after that.
So, John, you're the same age as me now. You're what, 40 years old nearly?
40. Yeah, I'll be 41 next year.
So I'll be 40 in December. We all look good for his age, yes. I know. But this has gone on since you were 14 years old. And you've kept this to yourself. You've only spoke about this to me, people on the channel, other channels, Dark Hour Paranormal, Goof on Radio, and I think you went on another channel. But you haven't spoke to this you haven't spoke about this to any family whatsoever.
No, I'm actually supposed to do that tomorrow, but
So you're coming out tomorrow.
I plan on it. I'm nervous about it. I hope I don't chicken out, but that's my plan. I hope I stick to it. It's just I feel like there's so much to unload on them at once because I'm not going to go there and tell them a piece of it. I have to tell them everything, and I feel like that's a lot to unload on them. I don't know. I know I have to do it. I feel like I'm being a wuss about it, but I plan on going tomorrow. That's the plan.
So, but you have a suspicion that is it your mum?
Yeah.
You think your mum's seen things?
I have a suspicion. There's not the only thing that makes me think that is because I believe that my situation is something that could be hereditary.
Why do you think your mum has seen something though?
I just got a feeling. I can't put my finger on it. I could be completely wrong. It's just a gut feeling I have.
John, can I ask you what your blood type is?
I asked my
Oh
mom.
God, yes, we know that now.
Yeah, she said she believes it was type A because I was born premature and they had to take some of her blood and give it to me. And she's type A, so she thinks it's type A.
Negative or positive, do you know?
She didn't say.
Okay.
But I think that's what it is. But yeah, I have a suspicion it's one of them for sure. I just don't know which one, but I'm leaning towards my mom.
Why are you scared of telling your parents this? If you don't mind me asking.
I was afraid to talk to anybody about this until recently, pretty much, But I feel like now so much has happened. I have like so much I can tell them. Like I plan on bringing my laptop and just.
I was gonna ask that.
Just showing them everything and see what happens. I think it's overdue. I think that's the problem. I think I waited too long to talk to them. Now it's going to be an overwhelming amount of information, Plus, who knows what they're going to say back to me as far as if they have their own experiences or, if they believe in that stuff or not. But,
David, that's probably a question for you because unless you've researched that, John, but I don't know much about blood types. I know my mum's rhesus negative, and that's apparently a weird blood type. But David,
you're a ginger. You probably are as well. Yeah. So I mean, there's lots of theories on what it is. I don't think anyone really knows. I know it's something most people just avoid, and if you've ever had any serious biology classes, they just kind of glass over because no one wants to talk about it. It's weird. But you have Rh negatives, Rh positive. Rh negatives lack certain antigens on the outside of the cell, like the D antigen and various other connectors, and so it is incompatible. So I'm O negative. All my children are O negative. My wife's O positive, but she's a ginger as well. So hers is probably a recessively carried trait, and it would make sense that she'd be recessive while I'm double dominant because both of my parents were both O negatives. Yeah. So some people think that there's something squirrely about that blood type, and I tend to kind of agree. And that some are maybe a little more attractive to things of the ethereal than the others. You tend to find people who have a lot of experiences tend to be a negative. Not a hard and fast rule. It just tends to be. I don't know. I mean, it's one of a gajillion things I just don't know about.
Yeah, there's so many questions that'll never be answered. It's frustrating.
Yeah.
No matter how much research you do and how hard you try, you'll never get the answers you really want.
But do you think the big researchers up high, like, so for example, NASA must have people that have looked into shit like this. Do you think that they know they know exactly what this is?
I have business partners that work as contractors at NASA, and don't give NASA too much credit. If you ever walked around any of their facilities, it is not what you would imagine it to be out of a movie. It would probably dishearten you. Not to say they don't have certain aspects that aren't super ahead of their time and are funded, but I would think that most of the real research and money and dollars for money, or sorry, money and dollars that are spent or not spent there, that they're spent at other places like so in the United States they have national laboratories. Most people aren't even aware of that. National laboratories that are funded of billions upon billions upon billions of dollars. They have them in, I think, like New Mexico, Arizona, Idaho, Tennessee, a few other states. It's where they, make nuclear fissionable material, as well as 100 other labs that are all classified. I live near one of those labs, and I know dudes who work out there. I know dudes who run security. I'm more guys who run security than work out there. But they got all kinds of crazy shit going on. They got, particle colliders they have out there buried under the ground. They call them tabletop particle colliders because they're only, a quarter of a mile or whatever, but still pretty damn big. And they're just into weird shit. I mean, that's where all the money goes. NASA, probably not. Guys like that, maybe. But I also know some of the scientists and the bureaucracy involved. So it makes you wonder what can they really learn? Like, I get why Bigelow went out there and did what he did. Eventually he gave up on proof and was just looking for answers. I would love to know what he got. Brandon Fugel.
Didn't Bigelow buy Skinwalker?
Yeah, he was the first one that bought it.
Yeah.
And then he sold it to Brandon Fugel.
David, do me a favor. Could you just turn the audio coming from your laptop with our audio down, because I can just hear myself a little bit, if you won't mind.
Got me hunting.
Yeah, but yeah, Bigelow, I've just been watching some documentaries on Skinwalker Ranch, and that whenever I hear Skinwalker Ranch, it brings me back to both of your cases, and the fact that especially with, I mean, I don't know if it's followed you, David, and I know that you've kind of got. I would put your case down to what you said with Steer of Echoes, and I've just watched the sequel to The Shining, which is nowhere near as good as The Shining, but it's kind of like a Shining. That's kind of like a real thing, and but John seems to be following John, whereas it seems to be you that's the one that can just walk into any building and send something straight away.
Yeah.
So what's the difference? What's the difference between you and John?
I can't answer that. I mean, I can, but I can't.
You know what I'm saying, though, don't you? Like,
I know exactly what you're saying.
Like you were saying about Steer of Echoes, like with the father, and the father, not so much the son.
Yeah, I mean,
he's like
so maybe John's walking around with a piece of a component somewhere in his genetic makeup tied up that has a little blinking light on it that things see, and they're wondering why he doesn't see them. But that's like the Stir of Echoes. I like the analogy of the flashlight, but I don't like the connotation that it gives, thinking that, all spirits are looking to move on. I've never encountered that. I don't encounter that. What I find are dark things that wear the guise of what was once man. Understand, these things are lower than us. They would love to pretend to be us. It's like the best place to find a possessed person's in a really good church.
You've seen The Shining, yeah? Would we be right by saying that? Do you know about it was Stephen King that wrote it and Stanley Kubrick that directed it.
Yep.
And Stephen King had a big problem with what Stanley Kubrick did with the film. Yeah. He was pissed off.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they remade The Shining. I like the remake more.
Oh no, I will disagree there. You're talking about the one, the kind of low budget one.
Yeah, the one with the guy from Wings.
Yeah, no, I love the original, but the original's not really. He didn't stick to the story, did he? He kind of like he did his own little.
Yeah, he went off on a tangent, but
it was a work of art.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes. Kubrick's brilliant guy. He's on a whole nother level. But like for why, I mean, John, I got nothing there, man. I don't know why. I only have theories, why. So my mom has had experiences. My sister has mostly ignored hers, and her flashlight's not that bright. Although the interesting thing is she has all the components. Should she choose to like turn it on, she could. She chooses not to. My mom, same thing. My dad, it ended up driving him to insanity, which also ended up causing him his life because he couldn't take it. And I just went a different route with it. I saw it destroy people around me. I think that's a difference, where you see a shadow in the middle of the night. I mean, until you get up and have a conversation with one, or you have something pick up the end of your bed and slam it down. Or children weeping outside your window, or the claw marks that are left on your wall because it can't touch you, but it can fuck up your shit. Which is equally as irritating.
John, can you bring a picture of the thing that keeps I don't know what it is, ectoplasm or whatever it is, the brown substance that keeps coming onto your hand for David.
Yeah.
Oh, the spirit goo, huh?
I should have took a picture when it happened the first time.
But if you give us the story behind that, so you can ask David a little bit about this.
Does it evaporate, or do you have to wash it off?
I have to wipe it off. So in the beginning, it looked like a brown piece of like gelatin wrapped in like a mucus, and it was in the same part of my hand for about 4 or 5 days. All right, let me see where this is at. And I would immediately, here it is. I would immediately wipe it off because, I thought it was gross. But this is nothing compared to what it was. Usually there'd be a big ball, like a brown mass here, and this oily liquid would be around it, encasing it, and would run down my hand to my thumb. This was the time I thought to take a picture before I wiped it off. I tried to do that at the time previous to this, but my initial reaction is like, ew, what the fuck is that? And just wipe it off, just get it off my hand. And I was like, crap, I should have took a picture. So this isn't the best that I've seen it, but this is definitely the same type of material. And I have a very strict morning routine. So I would trace my steps. I would touch doorknobs. I would touch the handles, retrace my steps. And I would never have this material on anything. I wake up to go to work and I look at my hand, nothing's there. 10 seconds later, I look back down and there it is without touching anything. It happened for a few days and it never happened again, like everything else.
You said you had a strict morning routine. Why is that?
Well, I do the same thing. I wake up on my couch, I walk to my bedroom, put my work clothes on, go to the bathroom, brush my teeth, use the bathroom, go in the kitchen, eat breakfast, and then I leave. It's the same thing every day. So it's easy for me to retrace my steps to see what I touched, So
yeah, like a touch of OCD or anything?
Slightly when it comes to stuff being clean, maybe. Okay. So it would appear on my hand, and all I did was walk into my bedroom. So then I would backtrack. I would check the doorknob, and then I would check my dresser handles, and everything's like bone dry. But I got this stuff on my hand. It was strange looking.
You need to. I don't want to say you need to, but I would highly suggest getting like a test tube, glass test tube, with a good rubber cork sealer. And next time that happens, try and get as much of it in there as you can and seal it. See if it stays or it evaporates.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wish I would have thought of this the first time I saw it. It looked like almost like a brown gelatin, almost like a brain, like a small brain.
Yeah.
Like it was real bumpy, but it was encased in that liquid. And it went from my pointer finger all the way down to my thumb. Same spot every day, same everything. And
you ever had night terrors?
Not really. Not really, no.
Okay. Sleep paralysis?
I've had sleep paralysis twice that I can remember.
Only twice. Okay.
Once was just me paralyzed, and the other one was there was like an incident involved with it.
You ever woken up with any electrical marks, like a burn, like a small black fractal pattern?
No, but I would say, what was that, Ali? Maybe a month and a half ago, I had those scoop marks.
Yeah, I mean, bring them up if you want, mate.
Okay. This was pretty strange. I woke up with all these marks on me. All right, can you guys see my desktop again?
Yep. I'll tell me when it's there. I'll bring it up.
All right.
So while John's finding that, we've got a question, David, here. If John confronts it,
and it reacts negatively or physically, what is the best way to deal or still communicate? Well,
That's a good question.
See, I don't give shit for a positive message. I throw down the gauntlet. This is.
I think he's saying if it reacts negative, that if it goes pear shape and the thing is scaring the shit out of him, what does he do?
If it can do something, it will do. It would have already done something.
Okay.
It's kind of like the bluster from the drunk guy at the end of the bar who's never actually been in a fight but talks about how badass he is all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, same thing. Worst that'll happen. Could it physically scratch you or attack you at night? Sure. Call it out. Continue to call it out. That challenging, not so much aggressive behavior, but dominant. It's your space. So here's the thing. You have not only home court advantage because you live there. How long have you lived there?
Since March.
So not that long. But it's still your space.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you don't sleep in your bedroom anymore.
I haven't slept in my bedroom since I lived here.
Yeah. Take it back, man.
John, do you sleepwalk? Hob and Mallow says.
I heard I have a couple times in my life, but that was a while ago. I really don't. I just I have all this camera footage about 2 months of me sleeping. So what I do while I sleep is I flail my arms like crazy, like I'm arguing with somebody, like I'm having an argument, like my arms are animated.
But
like
you
I'm
don't sleep in your bed, and you haven't for how long have you not slept in the bed for?
Since I moved in here, since March.
And you don't recall your dreams?
Oh, I recall all my dreams. Yeah, I mean, like there's some nights where I could have like up to 10 different dreams. You know, I'll wake up for a couple seconds, go back to sleep, have a completely different dream, or I'll continue the one I was having earlier. Yeah, I pretty much remember all of them. I got that picture up, Ollie.
Yes. So just before we go into the picture, for Hob and Mallow's question, if you wouldn't mind explaining the story again for anybody that hadn't heard it about the Coke can.
Oh yeah. This is something that is absolutely strange. So I was 25. I think I was 25, 26. Living with my girlfriend at the time. I don't have the feeling like I'm waking up, but I have the feeling like I'm able to see again, like my vision is coming back, not that I'm actually waking up. So when I get my vision back, I'm sitting up in my bed Indian style with a Coke can upside down in one arm, completely paralyzed, and the soda is just pouring all over me. And I only can move my eyes. So I look to the left, my girlfriend's on her hands and knees. She's like talking to me, but I can't respond. I can just look at her. And I'm looking at the can. I'm like, why is it upside down? Like, why is it dumping all over me? Like, I can't move. I'm soaked, the bed's soaked. And the second the can emptied, I was able to move again. And then she claimed that she saw like 3 children or something outside the window while this was happening, or 3 kids. We're on a first floor apartment.
You have an implant?
Really strange. Do I have an implant?
Yeah.
I have no idea. If I had to guess, I would say yes, but I don't know for sure.
So I'll bring the picture in now, John.
Okay. So this picture, I just highlighted them to show that I believe that the holes were in pairs. I just woke up with these one morning.
Is that on your? Is it your leg?
That's my left leg, right above my knee, like the lower part of my thigh. Yeah, so these were pretty freaking deep, and I was in so much pain I could barely walk. And the night before, I didn't have anything. This was probably 2 weeks before I got my cameras, so I wish I got them a little sooner. But yeah, I just woke up like this in excruciating pain.
You know what a dream diary is?
No.
So it's every time you have a dream and you wake up and you remember it, you write down what the dream was.
Mm-hmm.
I would make a strong suggestion that you do that. Then once you have that data, you can compare it to your video camera, your physical, and then you can, start extrapolate a correlation, and maybe we can get that to point somewhere.
My dreams are like a movie every single night. It's like a 2-hour, 3-hour movie. They're pretty ridiculous. They go in every direction possible. I try to explain to a couple of my friends. They say their dreams are nothing like mine, but mine are like very detailed, almost like
lucid dreaming,
experienced in a different life, but it's so extreme that it couldn't be another life, if that makes sense.
Well, so that raises a couple concerning questions.
Like,
Go on,
I could be sitting at a table talking to people. I can be thinking in my dream about other stuff, like I'll going through the motions of living a regular day. But
yeah, you're somewhere else.
Yeah, but to me, it's like the surroundings and the actions are so extreme that I couldn't actually be somewhere else. Is the way I look at it. If that makes sense.
So we should talk about that after this.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean after the show?
Yeah.
you got to get those are the best bits, mate. No, I understand. I understand.
Yeah. But
yeah, as far as those marks, though, I've had stuff like that throughout more than half of my life. I just never thought twice about it. Nothing that extreme. Like those holes were deep. Like when I tell you, I literally could barely walk. I was in pain.
Yeah.
Hey, that's a good idea, John. That is actually a really good idea. You should get a smartwatch. Do you have a smartwatch?
Very good idea.
No, I don't.
Do you monitor? Yeah. What phone do you have?
I have an Android, LG.
Yeah. Just get a Android smartwatch. There's loads of them. I think you can pick them up cheap enough, but you can get them to monitor your sleep, so you can see. Because a guy that a good friend of mine that I work with, he had a really weird spike in his sleep, and he's like, "This is not normal," and it shot up from like literally his heart rate just shot up at the middle of the night for no reason. Like insane to look at. Like, whoa, that's really weird. That, but it'd be interesting to see what your pattern is.
It'd be an excellent metric to add with the video diary you have going, the dream journal you have going. It would honestly, it won't change anything, but it could give some hypothesis as to why. I mean, the reality is we don't know. Like if we knew why some people experience things and others don't, I don't know.
Well, I'll definitely.
Some people are damned and some people aren't, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just the more further in life I'm going, it's just I think I'm getting closer to more answers. And I just get more questions.
That's the hamster wheel. We always think that.
What about for you, David? Have you ever woken up with, do you ever get that that goo? Have you ever seen that before, or any of the marks that you're seeing on John?
I've seen something. Yeah, I've seen lots of things like that. Me personally, yeah, I've had things done to me in my sleep, and I woke up. It was horrible, but I was younger and I didn't understand things that I understand now. I didn't have help. I had to figure it out. So, yeah. No, I had, scratch marks, cuts, bruises, subdermal hematomas that would manifest, massive bruising, black eyes, shit like that.
I had a lot of sprained ankles and sprained wrists.
Yeah. My wife and I, we actually keep because I sleep, my sleep's pretty intense, so we keep a big body pillows between us. It's kind of like a safety thing. So we have one of those nice expensive air beds that you buy that like bends and moves and heats and cools and does all that shit. And it's like 2 separate beds put together, so it's like an extra separate thing. And yeah, because like I'll kick so hard in my sleep, I'll rip sheets and like a duvet, punch a hole in a wall. And then so when I was younger, I used to deal with sleep paralysis and night terrors until I understood what night terrors, at least what I think they are, and what sleep paralysis is. And it helped me move past that and take a little bit more dominion over that. And it made things a lot easier. But yeah, I also had dreams. I've had dreams where I don't know. I don't want to, it'll just fucking sound even more crazy than I probably already sound. So yeah, I have experience with that.
So I'm going to go back to John's experience with because obviously I'm called Alien Addict for a reason. And you saw potentially 2 alien greys at the window. But my first question is for you, John. What do you believe they are now? And then I want David to elaborate on that.
That's such a good question because I kind of flip-flop on this.
So for anybody that's just joining now, hit that thumbs up, you sexy little shits. And John, when he was 14, was it 15? 15 saw 2 figures outside your bedroom window, which led to them coming to your door and you being in the fetal position in bed. You came on my channel first off to discuss this, and it's terrified you for how many years now? Was
25.
that 25 years? You've been terrified
and you don't 3 months ago.
Yeah, and you don't sleep in your own bed still to this day.
No, I'm working on it. I gotta take baby steps. It's nice. You think it'd be something that's easy, but for me, it's like I kind of got to ease into it a little bit because I really have a fear of my bedroom at nighttime. That's something I haven't got over yet.
But you only saw the gray figures once.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember. Did you say you'd seen a UFO before?
I think I seen one a week after.
Was that with you when you was in the basketball?
Yes.
Page? Yep. Yes, I remember that. Okay, so you see, but that's the only UFO you've ever seen.
Yes.
Other than on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but everything ever since after that, you've seen shadow figures. You've seen orbs. You've had weird shit go on in your life. You've seen a truck stop recently in the last 2 months ago. A truck stopped and there was a spinning.
Yeah, that was crazy, man.
That's
when I started taking like
ecstasy.
No, like people talk about how you have like your energies and your vibrations. That was the day where I accepted that as something that's real. You know, I'm sitting at the bus stop. I have like my head in my hand. I just started recording. I'm kind of stressed out about what I'm capturing. And I get that feeling through my body. You know, it hits me in my back and I feel the energy eject out of the front of me. And I got the goosebumps. And I just lift my head up. And there's a truck parked in front of me at a red light. And the air freshener is spinning like super fast. All of a sudden, it comes to a complete dead stop. And it's the head of a gray alien with a little smile. Like it was spinning fast and just stopped and looked freaking directly at me. After I had that weird feeling go through me, and I was like, "Okay,
what are they all
serious?"
You see all this shit, and then you see something spinning. What's that? And then it stops. It's great. It's weird.
If I didn't have that feeling go through me, I would say it could have been a coincidence. But I was like told to lift my head, like I felt it, and I've never felt stuff like that before. Till a few months ago, like this feeling I have, this energy that goes through me. it kind of guides me in a way somehow. It's like it's stuff I never believed in, but it's stuff that's happening to me, so I can't deny it.
So yeah, so you see the alien greys back when you're 15 years old at your bedroom window. You woke up the next day. You had a pain in your back. You still have a scar to this day from that, and I believe you're getting an X-ray on that. All right.
Yes, I still plan on doing that. It's something I've kind of been chickening out on as well, but I definitely want to do that. Yes.
The shadow figures, the orbs, everything. What do you think the greys are? What do you think them two figures are? Your opinion.
I'm like,
never mind what anybody else thinks. I don't give a shit. Whether I think it's alien, whether I want to know what you think.
I think they're what we call aliens, what everyone generally explains an alien to be. I know that for sure. I believe I was, abducted. If they're from another planet or another dimension, that answer always flip-flops with me. I always believed they're from another planet. That was like, I always stuck to that. But recently, some of the stuff I'm starting to learn, especially with the paranormal connection to the extraterrestrial connection, like those two together is kind of changing my views a little bit. I mentioned this to Dark Hour today, actually. A theory I have is what if, so let's say there's different dimensions, right? So what if one dimension, the Greys make contact with Earth or friendly with Earthlings, what if they have a connection in a different dimension on Earth and they just pop over into our dimension? You know what I'm saying? Like they could be from a different planet, but in a different dimension. Maybe in a different dimension, planets are closer, or
I'm just answering Hobber Mallow's question. You're asking what red I'm drinking. Sorry, John. Carry on.
Let's say like in a different dimension, aliens live on Mars, so it'd be a quick trip for them to go to Mars to Earth. So what if they go from Mars to Earth in a different dimension and then jump dimensions over here? Maybe, I don't know. There's so many different theories. For me to believe they fly that far to come here, I have a hard time wrapping my head around that. I think hopping in and out of dimensions makes more sense. But they could be an alien from a different dimension, if that makes any sense to you.
Well, yeah, it does, but at the same time, it's absolutely frying every single brain cell that I have in my head, and that's not many after a full bottle of red wine. Let me tell you that.
I was thinking, that's a far travel back and forth. Unless they're stationed here, then that would make sense. If they're posted somewhere close, if they're not, it would make more sense that they're going from dimension to dimension. But in the other dimension they're coming from, they are an alien in that dimension to Earth and just hopping over. I don't know. That's how I thought today. I don't know. There's probably endless possibilities, but dimensional or another planet in this dimension is like 50-50. Also, there's something I never mentioned on anyone's show before, which I think I should just mention. I was a little nervous to say this at first because I think it's a little crazy. But when I saw those two figures in my window, the first time, after the fact, I had a very strong feeling that somehow they were parental in some way, shape, or form. Like a very, very, very strong feeling. Not at the time, because the fear at the time overwhelmed every other feeling. But days after, and even to this day, I have a strong feeling. Just the way they looked.
You mean they was like looking over you?
Like they were there, like almost like they were concerned for me and there to watch me as the other two outside my door were going to come into my room.
Well, maybe they were because your parents had just gone away and left you at home at 15 years old to do all kinds of things. Maybe, steal drinks from the drinks cabinet, whatever you're going to do at 15 years old. So maybe they just thought, you know what? We need to make sure John is not getting absolutely shit-faced with his friends.
But the feeling that I have that one is a male and the one is a female.
That's a joke, by the way, mate.
Yeah, I know. and just the way they were standing, and just, you know, when I think back of the feeling I have when I looked into its eyes, that feeling of a parental.
But you didn't feel that at the time. You said you were terrified.
At the very moment, yes, I was absolutely terrified. Now this is like when like the next couple of days, I rethought everything and what happened. I always had that feeling inside of me, always. And I still do. You know, like when I envision the incident in my head and I close my eyes, I remember looking into the eyes. That's the feeling I get when I remember the incident every time. Now, if that's true or not, I don't know. But I felt a little awkward mentioning that in the beginning. I thought people would think I was crazy.
I don't know. So your answer to the question is that you have no idea, just like none of us.
I think it's either from another planet or from another dimension. I think I'm sure there's more options, but they're the two that make the most sense.
But you don't think it's anything demonic to it, or
no,
spiritual?
I think just people who see aliens can also see ghosts and shadow people. I think they're all separate things in the same spectrum somehow, where I'm able to see them all. I don't think they're connected themselves, but I think they're in the same space.
Do you think the alien that I'm going to call them alien? Do you think these guys? Yeah, needs to drink that vodka. Do you think these guys have anything to do with the shadow people? Do you think they have anything to do with the orbs? You think it's coincidence?
Well, the figures I capture that look like aliens in the orbs threw me for a loop. So that kind of messed up my theory of what's going on.
But by all means, bring that picture up, my friend, because I'm going to move over to David in a second. But that you know, if you've seen.
Actually, do you mind if I share the video of that?
No, share the video away. It's because not many people that watch this afterwards will make it this far into the video. Trust me. Usually people they skip through a video.
All right, I have it up on my
I do the
screen.
same. I do the same.
This is actually a video I edited for you before. This is already something I made. So
okay, and David, I'm gonna come back to you with that question of the greys. So I'll bring up full screen.
You see all these orbs shooting around. I'm kind of.
Can you bring it up full for us? Or is this the edited video?
No, it will. It's already edited. I'm not doing anything. I'm just playing it. But I will zoom in. I'm just trying to find the right mark. Okay. So I went into 0.1 times speed. So it's a frame every 10th of a second. So you're going to eventually see the figure right here come up through the couch. You see a couple on the left and the right, but they're not as clear as the one that's going to show over here. So you got one coming up here. So this is like super slow speed. You kind of get to see, like you can kind of see figures in these, but not really 100%.
A little like two little eyes there.
Yeah,
could be paranormal.
Yeah, but when you see the one that forms over here, it kind of changes your perception. Like this one right here it's coming up from the bottom. Right there. I paused it. So for that split second, it looks like what appears to be alien gray right there. Now, obviously, I can't.
Do you have that still? Do you have that still image?
Yes.
Could you show that?
Yeah.
Because you captured a better still image, and it did look like a figure. I have to say, as much as I'm totally against pareidolia, but
I mean, if
I can see you. Again, that other what you just went back to look.
What the thing is, if you zoom in, you can see depth in the eye sockets and in the brow area, like really distinct. Like all in here is very three-dimensional. Also, this picture, this is
that
one.
That's the one. That's the one that just looks stupid. But the reason why it looks stupid is because that looks like a pixelated figure. It does. Yeah, it looks like a pixelated gray. Yeah. Let's face it, people. It's pareidolia at its best. but
But
that's
the
what it
video
looks like.
shows it. The video shows it traveling, looking pixelated like that.
Have you got the
which
one
is
about
crazy.
traveling where you pause that one? I love that one.
Which one was that?
That one there. That one right there. The really
This one?
pixelated one that looks like that looks like a figure straight behind the couch. I mean, it's pixelated as hell. And obviously that orb is tiny, you know, but it looks like it's behind your fucking couch.
So I'm gonna watch me like scrub through this real quick. I'm just gonna fast forward. You see all that stuff going on.
Oh my god, they're everywhere.
Yeah, well, this is me fast forward, but yeah, they're all over, every direction, every size.
John.
You know.
Oh Jesus! Just swear to me here that fan is turned off. Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, and you've not used a lot of talcum powder, no?
Oh man, this is legit, man. This is 6:30 in the morning, October 1st. I'm going for work. So down here, I think is where. Oh, where did it go? I'm kind of going backwards now. There it is.
Is that the figure?
On the left side of the couch, it should be any second. You'll see it come up.
Does it come from behind the couch or is it in front of the camera? So what my question is the orb tiny or is it behind the couch massive?
No, it looks like they're coming behind the couch and they look pretty big. So
because I think it's up close and personal and it's tiny.
Really?
But that doesn't mean it's only because of the pixelation on it.
Yeah, I think I'm ready to upgrade my cameras.
I think anything that close up to the camera will pixelate. This is not me saying that is dust. This is me saying that yes, that they do look weird as hell, and there's too many of them and I've seen your apartment; it's fucking immaculate. I've had live streams with you many times. I'm very jealous of how clean you keep your place because having 2 kids and 2 cats that wipe their arsehole on the carpet is hard. Is literally hard to keep.
Yeah, there
you go. So can you get that one animated?
I'm gonna hit play. See how this goes.
Yeah, that's in front of the camera, mate. That's not behind the camera, but yes, that does develop into what looks like a face. Honestly, yeah. David, what do you think of that?
I mean, I think that looks like Lamb from Aleister Crowley's Summonings.
What that first drawing of the
the entity's name was Lamb.
But that one's so pixelated. That's the only one like that. You know, I feel like it makes it look more fake. But like my friend thought I did that on a computer. I was like, I didn't spend time to make a pixelated alien orb. I was like, I don't even know how to do that.
Yeah.
No, and John, you've not. I know you're not fake. You've definitely not fake that.
Well, I'm just saying what my friends are saying. You know, here's another one that in this area here you can kind of see. You see like the head right here and the body down here. But I would think that's nothing but the detail like right here, like the shading of the brow and the depth of the eye sockets is what really convinces me, at least. You know, I'm not sure what other people would think, but that alone, that detail in this area is pretty awesome.
I would be interested to know what my good friend from the Out There channel thinks of this. If he's made this far into the video.
You'd probably say it's a bunch of butterflies or light reflecting off a window.
So David, so it's the same question that I just asked John.
So I don't know.
What do you must have an inkling.
I think that tuna fishermen catch dolphins in their nets. They're 2 vastly different things. They're caught in the same medium and they're chasing the same prey. That's what I think.
I love the way you speak in riddles.
Mr. E.
Oh yeah, I have just got that now. Okay.
But yeah, I have videos of figures like that, multiple ones per second, but you can't distinctly see it like that one. But they match size and shape of that one. So I would only have to assume. Like you can see like the one you saw, like the eyes look distorted, like you kind of saw a face. Could be pareidolia, who knows? You know, but
John, can you see the question on the screen? Motion sensors.
Motion sensor. yes, I have motion sensor cameras, but they don't pick up the orbs all the time, rarely at all. So
a couple of the videos you showed earlier, you could see the little square going. That was the motion sensor picking up.
Yeah, that's the motion sensor. But my camera turns on when it detects something by motion or sound. So when I leave my house, I have to manually hit record on the cameras because they won't. All those orbs all over the place, the cameras won't click on. They won't recognize all of them. They might see one shoot by here or there. So I found out I have to hit record myself. And, a lot of times I hit record, I'll walk out and it'll be like calm for 20 seconds. And then you'll see one, then you'll see two. And then it could be a free for all. But it's pretty consistent. I say out of like 2 months, I might have had 15 days of nothing scattered through there, if that.
So, David, I know you kind of gave us the riddle there on the grey, but you must have an opinion on it as to what it is.
I mean, we're like assholes. Everybody's got one. Doesn't mean any of them's right. Everybody is prettier or better than the other.
But we spoke about Aleister Crowley.
Yeah.
And you know a lot about him than me, but
I know a lot about weird shit. That's, yeah. I mean, that's how did I get here was, just pursuing answers to my own. I never looked up at the sky. The first UFO I saw was a couple months ago.
But you see them every weekend.
Anytime we look up, yeah. I mean, I bought nice equipment to see it, but I did have that. I think I'd messaged you. I had that daytime sighting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I had witnesses there with me, and so I don't know. Tuna and I don't mean it to be a riddle. I was just trying to make it a.
No.
Again, I think we lack the language to really describe these things. So I
the reason why I'm asking,
what I think works. Yeah, I think there's truth. Like a dolphin and a tuna fish eat the same bait fish. That's why they get caught in the nets together. They're not the same species. They're nothing alike. One's a mammal, one's not. Or, one's air breathing, one's water breathing, whatever.
So for the audience at home and my own sanity, you saying for the dolphin, the tuna, so the dolphin and the what?
Dolphin and the tuna.
Yeah, they eat the same
bait fish.
They do.
And they get caught in the same nets.
Yes.
Right?
So you saying the dolphin and the tuna is the greys and the shadow figures?
No, I'm not saying any of that. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I've never, to my knowledge, been abducted. I've never seen a gray alien. Vast majority of my encounters are demonic in nature or someone who is fucking around with stuff they shouldn't have been, and somehow the universe puts them in my path. That's it.
But do you think? How do I explain this? Do you think this is something? Do you think the greys are involved within the UFOs, or more involved with the shadow figures?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Because you've seen the UFOs. You've seen the UFOs.
I've seen something in the sky that I can't explain. I've seen things in the night sky that flew in patterns I'm unfamiliar with. I had a former Annapolis naval officer with me, who commanded carrier ships, and he knows what the hell's up there. And he's never seen anything fly like that. And people say, well, it's a satellite, it's a Iridian satellite that flared. Fucker, I never said it went straight. I love that people immediately jump to try and cast things away before they know everything. Because in the paranormal field that I found in ufology as well, it's a great sport for people to run to debunk. Well, I can make this happen, so it must be. But yeah, that's a nice.
Sorry,
Ali. I think they're all separate. I think everything's separate. They're just in the same plane.
It may very well be. It may very well, but my only inkling that went over to ufology was because I talked to some guys and I had read some articles about synchronicity, and it was talking about
You see that,
Yeah.
David? You see the number?
Yeah.
33.
There you go.
I told you this number follows me.
So that's the guppy in the net with the tuna and the dolphins.
So for anybody who doesn't know, I see the number 33 a lot, and it's gone up to 35. So yes, people, we've got 48 people in the chat. Smash that like button and get me off that 33. That 33. God, it haunts me.
No, I mean, I don't know. Like, for people who are able to experience the paranormal, are they a greater beacon to UFOs? But then that would put UFOs at some similar plane. Like, I mean, there are certain things that dolphins and tuna have in common, right? They're both ocean creatures. They're both on this. They like, you can draw analogies. They may not be the same thing, but they share attributes, right?
Yeah.
So do these things? Maybe. I have some other theories that are a little bit way more out there. I've never heard anyone else, but
I would like to hear that.
I'm sure. But yeah, so yeah, well, hell, I'll touch on it a little bit, see what happens.
Okay.
I know a guy.
Are you saying this because of what happened with our first interview?
Yeah.
So for anybody that doesn't know, so I've interviewed David twice, but actually only once on the channel. Before the first interview I didn't go too well, because as soon as we started to record it, David you were talking about the exorcism that you did when you was a young man, and you were talking about I'm not going to. You told me you didn't want to.
I shouldn't have been so in depth. Yeah, I shouldn't have been.
Yeah. But it kept cutting out, and the weird thing is, and I think I've shown you, John. I've shown you a little bit of that video of David cutting out. Yeah, obviously, David, I kept you censored for John because I've edited the video where you're fully censored. But whenever you tried to speak about this subject, you were speaking normally, and then I would say, David, you just broke up there, and then you would just go, oh yeah, well, I don't think it'll let us speak. And I was like, oh my god, it's blowing my mind.
Yeah, I mean, that's things. These things have influence. They can physically affect you. They can do things. They can hurt people. Definitely. But again, there's a whole another caveat with that. So anyway, this has to do with a demonic situation. This gentleman I knew when I was a younger man, I used to work for him. Went to my church. I want to be careful how I do it because I need to make sure I'm censoring myself properly. Anyway, his son-in-law was living below him, and his son-in-law was kind of getting out of the occult, heavy occult. And he had cast something out of his place, but he was living in the basement apartment of this guy's beautiful home. He just cast it out of the apartment. He didn't cast it out of the house. He didn't tell it to get the fuck out. He just said, leave my room. So the thing apparently went upstairs and went to the contractor I used to work for and woke him up, and I guess was all up. And Dawn, see, there I go. This guy reaches for it, grabs it, and starts swinging away at it, like trying to hit it. And I was like, are you serious? And he's like, yeah. He says, it seemed genuinely surprised. That may be the first reaction it's had. And I was like, well, what happened? He said it was a lot like trying to hold smoke and silk that was somehow manifest. Like if you could manifest smoke as silk and be even finer. He said that was kind of what it was like. Like just it was there, but it wasn't there. And he said as soon as it was able to get out of the grip of his left hand, it just poofed. It just slipped right out of like reality. And so that's always led me to believe if these things rarely fully manifest, and if they did, does that mean they play by the same rules of physics that we by? Is by being slightly out of sync of our reality what keeps them so terrifying or omniscient, because they can't be touched, but they can't really affect us without coming in? And when they do come in, does that make them vulnerable? Was it vulnerable? Was it, and Dom was a man of faith. He's a strong dude. He's a great guy. He's a great guy. But yeah, so it just leads more questions than answers. Everything leads more questions than answers. But from that theory I always had, maybe these things, maybe what we understand is these shadow figures and other demonic entities are from a different vibration or a different reality or a different dimension or whatever. Mm-hmm. And maybe so are the little gray things. Maybe they don't need a ship unless they choose to physically come do a thing. And then maybe for them, they feel it's safer. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like if they totally sink in, they're there. Or maybe we're invading their world. And that's how they feel safer to observe us. I mean, I don't know. I know everything poses more questions than answers, and all of it sounds fucking insane. It just sounds insane. We sound like crazy people ranting.
We do,
like,
but
this
is the field that we're in.
It's crazy. Like, the majority of our lives is stuff that majority of the population doesn't even believe in. And that's the stuff that we live every day. That's like a weird feeling, that I see things, we all experience stuff that there's people who flat out think that's impossible. It's
well, the thing is, I think more people believe it than not. I mean, that's why paranormal shows are so interesting. That's why UFO shows are so interesting. That's why they do so well. Like I have a very good friend who's kind of been helping him with some stuff, and he initially had trouble accepting it, but once he was able to get past it and things happened, I mean, he can't deny it. He may not like it. He doesn't want to accept it, but it is what it is. And I mean, the thing is, like, witness testimony is enough to convict a man for the rest of his life or send him to the death chair, just on eyewitness testimony. That's gold evidence. Except when we get to the paranormal, suddenly witness testimony isn't worthwhile. And that's why you have so many credible people that don't want to be lumped in. I mean, there's a reason I don't want my identity known, because it will fuck up my life. And that's a sad thing. That's not fair. That's not right, but it is, so you get super credible people that aren't willing to do it unless they have the big balls that John has to just make that happen. I mean, I wouldn't do that. You got more guts than I'll ever have.
My thing was,
and then we need more of that.
A lot of people, for some reason, in this field maybe they start off truthful and maybe they do have a story, but once that story runs out, they try to keep it going. It's just the way I look at it. And I just saw a lot of stuff I saw a lot of things I didn't believe were true, and there's nobody overseeing ufology as a whole saying this is true, this is not true. You can go in saying whatever you want. Someone will interview you. Somebody will talk to you. I could say I time travel. I can get on the show. I can spread that lie if I wanted to. It's too simple, and it just muddied the waters. And that's the main reason I wanted to do this stuff in the first place.
Do you know, so John, though, the journey you've come on, I mean, me and David were saying this probably literally about 5 minutes before you joined me and David in the pre-chat, but the journey and thank you, my friend.
Wow.
It's very much appreciated.
Awesome.
I like you too. But the journey you've come on is, from what you seem like, and don't take this the wrong way, but you seem like a shell of a man when you first came on the channel to what you're like now. And if somebody goes back, and I in the description there's both my first interview with David and my first interview with John. And was I the first person to interview you, John? Yeah.
I've reached out to a couple of places before, but you're the first one.
But you seem terrified, and you look like somebody who had literally gone through hell.
I can't believe I look like that.
And now you look amazing.
I mean, I look like shit,
man. You look good now.
I didn't even know it. I sounded bad. I looked bad. I looked stressed out. I looked beat up. But like I said, I felt the fear physically leave. It was one of the most amazing experiences in my life.
don't take this the wrong way, but I said to my wife, I said, can you believe that this guy is a year older than me? Because you looked run down, but now you look younger than me, you bastard.
I mean, when you're carrying the weight of I wish I didn't react to all this the way I did. I wish I was built to handle my experiences, but I obviously wasn't. And this stuff was just a burden on me and literally destroyed every aspect of my life pretty much in one way, shape, or form. So it was tough, man. There were some bad times mixed in there. But like I said, and another thing too is after our first interview, going back and rewatching the interview and like looking at the live chat and all the nice comments and the support, that feeling was absolutely amazing. Like that made me feel like I can move forward, and keep exploring this and not be afraid to have people behind me. Like that was very important. I just wanted your viewers to know that, like, they made a big difference in my life. Just supporting me, just typing a couple words, went a long way, and that helped a lot.
Oh, well, that means a lot, mate. That really does. I mean, because that's. I mean, I'll be honest. I started the channel because I thought, I want to be a millionaire and just get a load of merchandise out there and a load of alien like figures that I can sell to people. But now I'm like, no, scrap that. I'm all about the people.
Yeah, I mean, dude,
John, that's a joke, mate.
Say if nothing comes out of your channel, like the channel literally changed my life. You know what I'm saying?
I think I could make a good alien figure, though. No, this is it. This is it. This is the thing, and this is what I was saying to David. Me and David had a chat in the kitchen the other day, and this channel for me, it's like a portfolio of people's experiences, and the more out there. Some of them are really out there. Some of them are just quite normal, but at some point, I'm starting to connect the dots with different people's conversations. And I was saying that with a guy that I was on the phone to earlier, that this subject of UFOs has brought me to the subject of paranormal, where I'd never ever gone there before to the paranormal. My dad has always told me stories about UFOs and paranormal, but I've always been about where's the science behind it? Where do these little fuckers come from? I've not been about anything to do with dark shadow figures, ghosts, even though apparently I've seen a ghost as a child. My mother tells me this all the time when I go around for dinner, which has been a long time because of the day and age we live in. But this subject intrigues me so much with people like yourself. When I see the journey that you're going on, it's interesting. The fact that you're now trying to, you've gone from being somebody who just sent me an email to somebody who's bought yourself your own setup. Maybe going to set you up your own YouTube channel, which is wreaking havoc. 215,
yeah. Once our project is finished that we're working on, that's when I'll get the channel up and running.
Well, John, you've nearly filled up my hard drive with the video footage, but
that's good. I'm so antsy, like I can't wait for that to come out.
Well, this is the thing, and people, this is what I said to yourself. He says, why are you not releasing anything? I'm like, we need to get the evidence first. And that's the thing, because we can release a couple of pictures of orbs. It's dust. We can do the research like Goof On and Rich from Goof On Radio, Dark Hour Paranormal, telling you to start sealing. I mean, I didn't even think of that. They told you to seal off your vents and everything like that for the video that I'm doing. So they've got nothing to gain out of this, but they're interested in this research. They're telling you to and even now when you've taken off these air vents, you've sat sweating your tits off with no air conditioning, but you've got your fan running now. But I've not seen any orbs. There's still the orbs, even though we can't see the fan, and they're going in all different directions.
Yeah, I can't blame anyone for saying it was dust in the beginning because I didn't know what it was in the beginning.
I thought it was dust in the beginning. I'll be honest with you. When the first video you showed me, I thought this is dust.
Everybody did. You can't blame anybody for thinking that because what else would it be? But I did the plastic thing because I don't think it's right to put out evidence unless you try to debunk it first yourself. I spent time trying to debunk some of the stuff I put out because I don't want to put anything out or share anything that could just misidentify completely, like be way off, So I did the plastic test and still had, even in my bedroom, I had the camera with 2 dusty fans blowing at the same time. Didn't pick up one speck of dust in that room. And that's my bedroom. I don't sleep in there. So that room's a mess. It's like a storage room. So there's dust everywhere. And I didn't see not one orb when I did that test with the plastic in my bedroom. So I thought that was pretty good too.
David, in your opinion, what are the orbs?
I have no idea.
Thanks.
I have no answers. I have no answers, man. And the dangerous thing is, like, I love that you guys are digging for proof. And there was a time when I was about that, but it's never enough. No one will ever get enough proof. No one will ever get enough answers to satisfy. It's just, you see people get obsessed with it, and they'll have good evidence and they'll have good proof, but it's like, yeah. It's like this weird gold fever that people get, right? It's like people who get into the paranormal, and the next thing you know, they're going to launch a TV show, or they're going to get famous, or I swear it's like the phenomenon does that. Like that's what it's goading you to do, is always try and get more, to come down the path a little bit further, walk just a little bit further, and it never ends.
Yeah,
never ends.
I can see that. But my thing is, I don't want to stop recording because I feel like I'm going to miss something. Or I don't stop looking at footage because I feel like I'm going to miss something. Like, all I do is wake up and hit record. I don't do anything else whatsoever. I just hit record. I go home. I watch the footage, But I feel like I'm on the path to something. I feel like because it seems like the further along I go in this journey, the evidence gets greater and greater. I started off, my first video was one single orb. Now I'm capturing shadow people scurrying around my apartment. So it's not really me trying to really get answers. I just want to get the best footage I can, share it with you guys. And that's pretty much all I really want out of it,
So for Uniform Pigeon 14, that's an amazing name, by the way. Have we got like another like great video of the orbs?
For me?
Yeah.
I got like
I know you've got like a terabyte of storage of them. You need to upgrade your computer, mate. It must be killing your computer, that.
No, I just got a new laptop and on a 2 terabyte external hard drive. I got it all set up now so I can handle this, because I didn't know what I was going to get or what I was working with. Now I think I transferred 13,000 pictures and videos from my camera that my camera took on its own.
So Uniform
Pigeon, even look through. But
Uniform Pigeon, the answer to your question is John does have, like, he's filled probably, I've got a 3 terabyte external hard drive, and I think John's filled about, I don't know, 500 gig of that. I'm probably exaggerating there, I am, because I've had a tipple, but
there's a lot. I've sent you so much stuff.
John, if you bring another piece of footage up for the people, because we're not going to go much longer tonight.
Okay.
But did you have any more questions for? Because I know you wrote down some questions for David. Is there any that you've not asked?
We actually covered all the ones I wrote down that I could think of.
What about you, David? Have you got something that you wanted to ask John?
No, man. I think it's really cool that you went forward. I think you got a big pair of balls for putting your face out there in your story. More courage than I got. I think you pursuing the evidence and trying to find it. I think that's amazing. Just you know,
you're both like a bunch of bastards, because that was the filler. The question that was the filler for John finding the video. I was relying on that.
There it is. Yeah. No. I mean it. Well, I mean, in truth, I just hope that when you keep looking for the evidence, John, just be careful not to get caught up. I mean, you're finding it for you and for the community. I think that's awesome, but I really do. I commend that. But remember, there's so many people out there like with good evidence that they put out or this or that looks good, and you get a guy that you get dozens of guys. This is bullshit, and they cast it off to the side, and you're like, wait a minute. Or you have to prove it to me. Those people, I've never understood that.
I'm not trying to prove anything to anybody, to be honest with you. I'm just showing you what I got. If you want to think it's dust, you go right ahead. It doesn't bother me one bit. I'm not going to sit there and try to talk you into you thinking I have orbs. You know what I'm saying? That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, I think that's the healthiest way to be.
Yeah, because I can't argue with somebody. If they don't think it's orbs, they don't think it's orbs. I'm not going to sit there and try to explain, or make them change their mind. That's up to the people watching the footage for them to make up their mind.
I think the way that we're doing this, John, and trying to see whatever this is that's going on in your life right now and trying to capture it. I mean, what I'm looking at now, I've seen dust particles on video. It doesn't look like the dust, but it really doesn't. I mean, I'm sure the Out There channel will probably correct me on that, but it. I mean, the movement is that there. For example, just what you've just seen there, the speed completely changes everything. I've seen many orb videos, and I'm like, that's dust straight away. With what I've witnessed with you over how many months have I when I told you to start doing this?
I want to say 2.5, maybe 3 months. I don't know. I've been losing track of time lately.
About 3 months, I think it's about
that.
And it's got more and more intense.
Yeah, and I'm glad everything's documented and you have everything. I like documenting what's going on. I like to try to figure out, or maybe at least better understand what's going on with me. Most likely, I'll never find the answer, but as long as I'm capturing stuff on camera, I'll just keep riding with it and see where it goes. If it stops one day, it stops. But there's always that chance I might get that one like 10th of a second where I capture something absolutely amazing.
So I think before we kind of call it a night, boys, Fairies Are Real has got a great question, and I think you both can answer this. So for John, what for you has been the what's been your best encounter?
I'd have to say seeing the aliens. Nothing can top that. That was the most amazing experience I've ever had. It literally, my life was going this way, and then as soon as I saw them, it just took off in another direction. It was the most overwhelming. I mean, it's like 4 or 5 feet away from 2 aliens, just looking at them. It doesn't get more amazing than that. I wish I wasn't as scared as I was and was able to hold it together and maybe try to communicate or do something, because I was able to move when they were there. It wasn't like I was paralyzed. So I wish I could have relived that time in my life again and did it a little differently. But that was the most amazing thing I ever seen, just to look into its eyes and make eye contact and just stare. And yeah, that was the most intense feeling I probably ever had in my life.
And you said it like it was featureless.
Yeah, it had no bones, no bone structure, no muscle definition. It was just like take the shape of a gray head and just mold it perfectly, like smooth in every direction, like perfect. and then just put 2 holes, a little slit, and just drop some eyes on top. I mean, the head was like this, just the shape of it. There was no abnormalities, or like it was just perfectly symmetrical, round, no cheekbone. It was just a perfect shape. Like the Alienware logo, like the shape was like perfect like that. You know what I'm saying? It was just, I wouldn't be surprised if it was something that was engineered. It looked that perfect to me.
And David, what about yourself? What's the best evidence that you've encountered, or the most intriguing thing you've ever experienced in your life in terms of
I'll tell you, so the thing that probably made me question the most about what I thought I had a grasp on happened a while back. It was fairly recently. I believe it was about 2 months ago. Did I message you about that shared dream?
Yes, I think you did.
Yeah, so that I also been in contact with a different paranormal guy, and I had sent it to him as well. It's more in his alley. Trying to think of how to do it quickly without a lot of backstory. So dreams to me are important, especially lucid dreams. And I learned when I was younger how to turn a night terror into a something that you have a better handle on. Anyway, so I had started out in this dream, and I could tell that there's something going on. It's different than, just I ate the weird pizza, and now I'm going on, digestive chemical trip. There's a point to it, and I'm usually able to pick that up, that there's something going on. So I'm there, and I'm with a bunch of other people, and we're all wearing the same uniforms, and we're going to do a thing. I don't really know what it is, and I get assigned a partner, and I'm like, okay, well, this is fucking boring. I don't understand what's trying to be explained to me through this metaphor. So I force myself to try and change dreams, right? And it's kind of hard to explain. Like I feel myself pushing out of this dream into a different dream to try and force whatever's trying to talk to me to give me a different metaphor, something I can grasp. So this isn't making sense. And at the same time, I feel like a pullback, like I'm not able to do that. And it sounds dumb, but it's a thing. And anyway, so I'm like pulled back, and I'm looking at the chick I'm with is like a teenage girl. And she looks at me, and I look at her, and bam, we're in a different scenario. Only I didn't trigger the scenario. And I'm like, well, this is okay. So do I not have control here? Now we're in a house. We're in my house, and we're upstairs, and we're in my kids' rooms. And there's things storming the outside of the house, and there's a storm. The windows are broke, and the house is under siege. And I'm barricading the door, and I'm like, well, this is I don't get this either. And as I try to leave, I say out loud in the dream, I was like, well, this is stupid. And what I in my dream, I'm saying, why can I not control this dream? And the chick looks at me and says, this isn't your dream. This is my dream. And then I wake up.
Oh,
I was freaked out about it. And I told my wife, I immediately told my wife, I was like, this is some weird shit. And she sadly has to suffer with me through most of this. And she's like, listens to it, and she's like, you sure you just didn't eat something? I was like, no, this is one of those times I know this was something. I just don't understand what it was. Well, I go out shooting with my buddies, and I come back, and she's like, I have something to tell you. And she brings my middle daughter up, sets her on the table, and she says, tell me about the dream. She's like, well, me and Daddy were with the army men, and then we were in the house, and it was under attack, and Daddy was swearing.
So this is your middle.
It was my daughter had the same damn dream. I think that my daughter was the teenage chick that was in my dream. I think we had the same dream, and I've talked to her about it, and she's talked to my wife. So that like the nature of consciousness, of dreaming, of lucid dreaming, of our minds, of the escape of it. That's why I wasn't able to.
You're telling me that this teenage girl in your dream,
is my 5-year-old daughter. Yeah. She dreamed herself as an older person.
Wow.
And she had told my wife the same thing unsolicited, because the dream had bothered her, because she was with Daddy with the army men, and then she was with Daddy in the house, and it was under attack. And she said, and then Daddy started cussing, and then we woke up. Because at that point in the dream, I was trying to wake myself up, and I couldn't do it. And then it just this is the thing that gets weird. So when I woke up, I was trying to wake myself up, and I'm pretty good at that. I couldn't do it, but I had felt like once she had said that, and I turned and looked, I I remember the dawn because my lucid dreams, I always remember they're very clear. And I was like, well, what the fuck? Like, what? I don't have other things like this. Isn't what you're. And at that moment, I felt like a giant hand grasped me as though the thumb went halfway down my back. I'm trying to do it and I have it blocked out. But over my shoulder and like like you would grab a small boy by the shoulder. You know what I mean? Like your thumb's down his back and your hand's on his chest and you just kind of snatch him. It was the same thing. That's how I woke up. Like I was pulled out of it. And man, that freaked me out, man. That freaked me out because it makes me question a lot of assumptions I'd had previously.
Well, if you think about that for a second, so when I look after my kids and whatever they're doing, what they're doing, I think to myself, God, I want to be doing something else. So you're in a dream of a 5-year-old and thinking, this is stupid. I want another dream. I want out of it, but you couldn't get out of it.
No, I was getting dragged. I was getting dragged through her dreamscape.
Because you're a dad.
I don't know. How did I get there? I've never had that happen before. I've never shared a dream. I've never had anyone in mind. Not an actual person, like a physical, like this is a person, like a person who relayed the other thing. And here's the kicker. I got up early in that morning because I had a class and we were doing some range time afterwards and I had to get some stuff done. And yeah, so I didn't see her on the way out. I left before anyone was awake and she had told my wife, because when I woke up, I told my wife that because she gets up at the fucking ass crack of dawn. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It bothers me too. It's everything about that was weird. And then I was jerked out of it. I was pulled out of it, ripped. So that means who's monitoring that situation? That's the other thing. Who pulls who out of a dream? How someone paying attention to this? Oh shit, there's crossover. You know?
Oh shit.
Well, you know when you, like,
yeah, it's bizarre.
What you're saying there about who pulls who out of this, in terms of a bigger picture, do you believe that there is somebody, for example, a God presence that, or what people think of as God?
Yes.
You do?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can't see some things in life and not believe that. You just can't.
So do you believe in God?
Absolutely.
But do you believe in aliens?
I believe I don't have the language or descriptive capabilities to describe what they are. I don't know what they are. You know, hell, I could be the alien to that thing. Maybe we're planted in their world.
Interesting.
We're the black mold on their walls, you know?
John, you religious? Are you religious at all? Are you family?
Nah, not really. No, I don't believe in God really. Well, my belief is that we were created at some point by something, but
you don't believe. So after all you've seen with the dark shadows, the orbs, you don't believe there's any sort of, there's not something different to us other than just flesh and blood.
I believe we all have spirits. I believe in that kind of stuff, but like the one individual God, I don't believe in that. You know, because the way I look at it is different religions, different races all have different gods. I don't believe there can be like 15 different gods. And personally, this is my belief. You know, I think somehow we were created by what we call extraterrestrials, and they still monitor us to this day. You know, that's my belief. I've actually had that belief since like elementary school. I remember sitting in class looking at the ceiling. I was like, I think God's an alien. I don't know how I thought of it, and I don't know why I still remember it, but I've always believed that.
That's you've just given me a great idea for a video of title. I think God's an alien. Like that, surely that's going to get a million views.
I mean, just all the stories, you know, from the past of gods coming and going, the way they travel, the way they interact. It just sounds like a bunch of alien species at one point were interacting with us in the past. You know, I could be wrong, but that's just what I believe. You know.
So, David, before we go, you mentioned that you thought you spent some time with. Was it a couple of days you spent with Travis Walton? I've seen the pictures.
Yeah.
Last video for anybody that, I mean, I don't know why anybody wouldn't believe that, but it's you know anybody that can kind of like get in that situation can get on this.
Yeah, I mean, all it takes to get next to these people is money.
Yeah.
You know?
Did you enjoy your time
with him? Hell no. With most of the MUFON people there, hell no, they're idiots.
That's what was getting on.
Every person there is looking to be famous. They want to tell you how amazing there is and their secret insight. And there was one or two people that were all right, and I think that they were onto something. But they were also touched with that like gold fever, like that. I don't know. You can tell, and maybe it's just me, but when I perceive him as just like touched with this obsession. You know, like for me, it's not an obsession. It's just kind of a bullshit thing that I live day to day.
Yeah, because we were talking before. John is getting in touch with MUFON now, and just be careful what we say about the recent stuff that's happened with MUFON, because YouTube won't like them words that we use. But do you think that's a good idea to get in touch with MUFON about any sort of encounters you may have?
Oh, who, me?
Anybody.
Oh, I mean, hell, I don't know. Tell the world, man. Tell the world. The only one who knows we're getting people speak up. I don't have the guts to show my face and risk my my family to it. But, more guys like John doing it will. Maybe if we can get more data points put together, we can see a better picture. That's the only way. I mean, I've met people that have similar experiences to me, but they went in a different direction than me. And they're not someone I would want to associate with. So, yeah. And John's are very interesting. I think it's very interesting. There's a lot of questions there. Only more questions after watching some of those videos. But
yeah.
I think that's the nature of it, man. Is that, well, we're not going to know.
No,
So,
I don't think so.
So before we go tonight, boys, I mean, David, is there any sort of advice that you would give to John and anybody that's watching this that may be experiencing similar stuff to John that has no idea what the hell's going on in their life right now?
Yeah, come forward and talk about it. Let us get a data point. Let us set. There's John. I have similar things to John. How so? What's going on? The problem is most people don't want to be. I mean, this is why I'm blurred out. Because not only would I be considered crazy, my business partners whose families are vested in mutual interests that we have going could potentially be ruined by our competition. My wife's career could be ruined. My family and no, I'm not doing that. But the only way is to get some of this together, start talking about it. One of the biggest things when I have talked to people in the past before I learned I shouldn't do that, people are always, well, why don't you record it? It's like, because when I'm in the middle, I'm just not walking around with a damn handy cam, like waiting every second. And John's wired his whole place for sound, man. Video and sound. Not everybody does that. And that's great. That's great. And if tangible, great evidence comes from it, I think that's going to be fucking wonderful. I still don't think we'll ever know. And I think every great piece of evidence he puts forward will never be enough. Because it's just like the people who are touched with that gold rush bug, the people who want evidence, it's never enough. And at a certain point, you gotta step out and, I get it if you've never had an experience, I get it, or the worst people are people who've had experiences and it scared the shit out of them. They're the first to dismiss all evidence that comes their way because they can't cope with the reality that they went through something that's totally unexplainable. Where we got a 3-dimensional thought process trying to compute 7-dimensional problems. You can't do it.
Yeah.
And John, if you have any advice to anybody that's trying to, I don't want to say trying to come out, But anybody that's trying to come, that's trying to tell their friends or family or just tell somebody about what's going on, because they don't think that anybody else will believe them. What would that be?
I would tell them to do what I did and come onto a show like yours, because you have
what did you just say? Yes, I didn't even have to say it. Well done, mate. That's subscribe to Alien Addict, and my email is alienaddict.uk@gmail.com. Carry on, John. This is good.
So your audience, believes in the subject and is interested in it. So you would be talking to a group of people that can pretty much understand what you're saying. A lot of people in the chats have their own experiences. So you're talking to people that understand, instead of just talking to like one friend or a couple friends, or even just keeping it to yourself. That made the huge difference in my life. Just getting that off my chest and having a community like kind of behind me, encouraging me. Like, it was you guys who talked me into getting the cameras and to doing this stuff, because you guys kept pushing me, pushing me along, giving me the confidence to do this stuff. So I think it's important to go on a show like yours and just talk to a group of people who understand what you're going through and just release all that weight off of you. That's the best thing I think you could do. Because talking to like a friend or something, they're your friend. My friends believe like some of my stuff, or don't believe anything. It's hard to talk to people who already don't believe in the subject. You're not going to get a response that you like. So I think that was one of the best decisions I made, to come forward. And especially David, like you watching my video and then you coming forward after watching that, that was like one of the best feelings I ever had. That made my interview with Ali in the beginning worth it, just that alone, And I hope people like us can keep that ball rolling and start pulling more people to come forward, because obviously, like I said, with my experience with my coworkers, there's two guys I work with that both had experiences. So it tells me there's probably a good majority of people out there who have that dismiss it or have no one to talk to. They need an outlet like this to let everything out.
Yeah, man, I think you're right. And that you're 100% right. That's why I came forward. I saw yours and I was like, well, hell, look at this poor guy. If he can do it, maybe I can put out there. And our sample size of N is now 2, and maybe N will go to 3 and 4, and then we can get some real data sets and compare notes.
Keeping the information to yourself is like the worst thing you can do. You gotta let it out. I was walking around with a lot of weight, not releasing, not speaking about it. And like I said, after that interview, my whole life has changed. Best decision I made. Ali had to talk me into it. I didn't even want to do it. It was like, so it was a good decision. I suggest people in the same situation do the same. Even if you're nervous or scared, just you gotta let it out. Gotta let it out.
Yeah, I think the more people that talk about this, the better. Boys, I want to thank you so much for coming on. I'm gonna drop you two out of the chat, and I'm gonna come back to you after I've hip cupped. But yeah, I'm gonna just, boys, thank you so much for coming on. It's been an amazing. I'm just gonna mute you two guys right now, so I can just end this with the guys. But awesome. Guys, thank you so much for joining us tonight on Alien Addict. It's been an interesting show. And like John and David said, so many people have different experiences. So many people might experience this in a different way to somebody else. And this is the whole point of this channel. I don't pretend to know anything about this subject. I look at the evidence. I talk to people. I'm not an expert. I never will be, but it intrigues me, and you guys are the main thing behind this channel. So, I thank everybody for being live tonight and joining us. So, if you can smash that thumb, I hate saying that. That's what these YouTubers saying to. I suppose I'm one of those now. But yeah, share the video out, friends and family, and if you are somebody who wants to come on the show, email me. It's alienaddictuk@gmail.com. That's alienaddictuk@gmail.com. If I remember to put it in the description, I will. I can't guarantee that. It's probably one of my older videos, if not. But your voice needs to be heard. If you have something you want to say, if you have a story that is true, I don't want any bullshit on this channel. If you have a genuine story and you have a situation going on in your life or anything, it doesn't have to be alien. It just has to be out of the ordinary. I don't want to know about what's going on with your mother-in-law or, your stepdad or your sister, your partner. I don't want to know about that shit unless it's paranormal or alien. If it's that, you're good to go. AlienAddictUK@gmail.com. I think I've drunk too much red wine. But anyway, good night, God bless. Mind the bugs don't bite. I'm Alien Addict. Smash that like, hit that subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Mind the bugs don't bite. And I can't remember how to end this stream. Oh yeah, there we are. End broadcast. Good night.